see. Oh, you Proverbs 31. I see. Yeah. Oh, you Proverbs 31 with it, huh? I see. Oh, you virtuous, yeah. Faithful, all around, hold it down for the crib. I know you won't trip. When I tell you God been talking, and we gotta do what he said, I know you'll trust it. Oh, you a winner over many, and we wait until we ringed up. You ain't even tryna tempt me. I know it ain't plenty like you, cause you different. I know you was God-given. God gives and he take away. I'm just praying that you stay. Yeah. Whoa. Oh, you Proverbs 31 with it, huh? Yeah. I see. Oh, you Proverbs 31. I see. Yeah. Oh, you Proverbs 31 with it, huh? I see. Oh, you Proverbs 31. I see. Yeah. Oh, you ain't going that easy. You ain't going for it. Yeah. You know your worth and it's more than rubies. And you still fear the Lord. Feed the needy and the poor. Who can really ask for more? Oh, ain't a dress gang modest. All praise to the highest. All praise. I just gotta give you thanks. Whoa. Oh, you Proverbs 31 with it, huh? Yeah, I see. Oh, you Proverbs 31. I see. Yeah. Oh, you Proverbs 31 with it, huh? I see. Oh, you Proverbs 31. I see. Yeah. Oh, you.
Peace and blessings, everyone. We'd like to welcome you, one and all. We pray that you are hearing us. This is coming live on YouTube. If you have any friends and family members that are tuning in and they've signed on to the Zoom, if you can just send them a message that they need to go to Cuptic TV on YouTube and they can watch the live stream right now, coming to you right now. On behalf of all of the members of the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah, Journey Home Group International, and her member children, those of our family members and friends, associates, those from the conscious communities, the Nation of Islam, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Al-Kubalan, those of you that are Egyptologists, those of you from the Hebrew Israelites, the Israelites United in Christ, the nation of the Yahwehs, the 5% nations, whatever you may be, the Nubian nation, the various Christian ministers and Baptists and bishops whose family members, the ladies and mothers and daughters and sisters and wives, the grandmothers, the aunties and the nieces that are joining us this evening. For the very members that are out there, the men, the noble, regal men that are joining us tonight. We're talking to those of you that are brothers and sons and husbands and fathers, those of you that are nephews, uncles and grandfathers. We welcome you to this event. This has been long awaited and definitely necessary. This is the Ladies' Conference, the Ladies of Purpose Conference for the year of 2024. I'm Rev. Dr. A.J. Varma, and I'm going to be the only male voice heard in the very beginning, and then I'm going to shut up and let the ladies do what they do. Because we see something happening where ladyhood has been hijacked. In fact, womanhood has been hijacked. In fact, sisterhood has been hijacked. In fact, just girls are being hijacked. Something's happening to us, and a change has come. A change is necessary. So there's going to be some conversations over tonight and tomorrow. There's going to be some discussions. There's going to be some things that are taking place. It is going to be an awesome, awesome event. Our moderators for the first segment tonight is Sister Shabria and Sister Simone. I'm going to bring them in a moment and allow them to introduce themselves, and then I'll put all the ladies from the first segment, bring them up on our screen so they can introduce themselves to you tonight, and then I'm going to ask that the ladies take it from there. They're going to walk us through, they're going to bring clarity to this conversation. Oh, this first one is going to be, it's going to cause some trouble, it's going to shake some heads, but that's quite all right. This first segment, again, this is the Friday, the 29th of March. This is the 6th. It was about 6:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 10:20 p.m. GMT for those in the UK. Oh, this first one is going to be, are you a line stepper or a lady in behavior and mindset? Oh, I don't know what that's going to be about, but I know it's going to be juicy. It's going to start some trouble. So if you want to hear some things that's going to change you, tell grandma, put the spoon down. We're not baking no cakes this evening. Only on the commercials we can bake cakes. In fact, I'm in the kitchen trying to make me some nice stewed spinach so men can cook too. That's right. We cook too. Right. So I want y'all to enjoy this evening. And I'm going to go ahead and bring these young ladies, these grown ladies, these intelligent ladies, these ladies of purpose, Sister Shabria and Sister Simone. I'm bringing them in right now, and they're going to go ahead and take it from here. Ladies, you all have the floor, and I'm going to bring the other ladies in. But I'd like Sister Shabria, if you can start, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you live, and what you do. What's your background? What have you done that we even want to hear you being a moderator this evening? Sister Shabria, you can follow right behind her and tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do. Tell us something about yourself so they can know, and then I'll bring the other ladies in.
Namastu, namastu. All right, I'm Shabria, Sister Shabria. I am a veteran of 8 years, coming from the United States Air Force. I am a mother of a 2-year-old, and I have a boy on the way due in July. I am due to have a ceremony, binding of two flesh. Most people call it marriage, in October. My spouse and I have been together for 5 years, known each other over 15 years. I work at CAI. It's an IT company as a data analyst and a knowledge manager. I'm excited to be here moderating for the Ladies of Purpose Conference 2020-24. And I am really looking forward to this conversation that we're going to have. Sister Simone.
Thanks, sis. Namaste, everyone. My name's Sister Simone. I'm a mother of one. I've worked in the criminal justice system or the domestic abuse field for over 12 years. I'm currently a housing manager in a domestic abuse charity. I've studied criminology, graduated in 2011. I own my own natural hair care business called Nateria Essentials. We're based in the UK, London, but we're branching out to the States, to the Caribbean. Watch this space. And yeah, it's great to be here, part of the Ladies of Purpose conference. And like Sister Shabria, I'm looking forward to this conversation and looking forward to speaking to all the beautiful sisters.
All right, let's get it.
We're ready.
The Natasha Blake. I'm going to bring in Sister Christina, who I call Umi, right? Because out of respect for her works and what she represents. Christina Forbes, Associate Pastor Karen Hilton, Sister Sherelle Park out of the UK. I think we're missing somebody. Who are we missing? Who are we missing? Oh, there was somebody here. Oh, there we go. And Sister Zandi Ashanti Malinki. And I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves, beginning with Associate Pastor Karen Hilton. Sister Sherelle Park will follow her. Y'all can remember the order because I will forget. Sister Christine Forbes, Sister Natasha Blake, Sister Zandi Ashanti Malinki. Did I say it in order? Did I catch everybody? All right, ladies, go ahead.
Associate Pastor Karen Hilton, it's on you.
Okay, I'm so sorry. There's some technical things going on back here. Namaste to all my sisters, namaste to fellow Atonis family, and greetings and namaste, welcome to everybody that is joining us this evening. I am Associate Pastor Karen Hilton. I am the Associate Pastor for the London Canisa. I also, actually before I go there, I am a mother of 3, a grandmother of 2, actually 3 now, grandmother of 3. I come from a administration, financial kind of background, financial administrator, working in accounts, still working in accounts because I can't get away from those numbers. So I just accept what it is. It is what it is. So I'll work with it. I also work in the Tree of Eternal Life. And currently we are expanding, helping to do community events. And I've been with I've been here, well, not just in this particular branch or this religion, I have been in the good fight for over 30 years. So yes, welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you. I think it's me next. And namaste everyone, namaste to my sisters online, greetings to everyone else online. I hope you're having a pleasant evening. My name is Sherelle Park. I am a researcher by profession, but my biggest achievement, my biggest journey so far has definitely been motherhood. I'm mother to a 2.5-year-old and a 4-month-old. So excuse me if you hear me in the background here, that's the little one. I am very passionate about our children and their growing in excellence. So I founded the Bantu Baby platform, which is very much about helping our children to appreciate their magnificent history and heritage. Keep it short and sweet like that.
Namaste family, my name is Natasha Blake. I'm so pleased to be here with everyone sharing this moment with you all at this poignant time in our life. I'm a mother of 5 and I work previously in accounting, and I'm currently supporting my husband in his business venture. And I also work in the school. I work with 3 to 11-year-olds. So I'm so happy to be here today to be joining you on this conference.
Namaste. I'm Christine Forbes. I'm a mother of 1, but the bossy sister of 5 siblings. I'm married but separated. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Accounting. I got my certification with PwC. I'm retired, and I've been an attorney from the past 4 years. It's good to be here. Namaste.
Well, did we have Sister Azandi? She might have popped.
So I think she dropped for a moment.
Okay, we'll go ahead. I just want to say we've got a lot of accountants, so hopefully you can help me with my budgeting in the future. Thank you.
Master, I'm here. So sorry. Introducing myself. My name is Sister Azani Malinki. I'm the master to everyone online. First, want to thank the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah for allowing me to be here today, another year. I am the founder of Righteous Jewels and The Vantage Point. I am a co-author of the book Repletion of Power. I'm a mom to 2. A wife, an international businesswoman and spokesperson. Yeah, I'm really not good at this, but that's the main that's the main things I would like to share with you today. But many of you who have tuned into the Ladies of Purpose last year would be familiar with a lot of the faces here today. So I'm excited, especially to bring in a new year and introduce new people as well. So thank you again for having me. Namaste.
Master says, thank you all for your intros. We're going to kickstart because this topic has got me on edge. So the topic is, are you a line stepper or a lady in behavior or mindset? So I'm going to start off with Associate Pastor Karen Hilton. Why not? Sure. With that topic, I think it's quite broad, and I think we kind of need to define first what a line stepper is and what a lady in behavior and mindset is. So if you don't mind just maybe trying to just define those two for us, or if you can give an example of the behaviors of a line stepper or a lady in behavior.
Okay, sure thing. So a line stepper is exactly what it is, always pushing it to that line. You know, there's the behavior is, you know, how far can I go? How close to the line can I go? Because we've all heard the term, you're over the line, now you're stepping over the line. That line is our, what we class as our order, or our, you know, this is from here, this is how, as much as I will take, being the other person, this is as much I will take, this is my line. Please don't step over it. So, you know, you have some people or females who will push as far, as close to that line as possible, just staying inside of it so as not to break the back of the next person. And so we kind of like notice those are the behaviors of a line stepper. So a lady, is it, did you say a lady or a lady in waiting? You say, what did you call the name?
So the, I guess, opposite towards that is a lady in behavior and mindset.
In behavior. Mm-hmm. So a lady in behavior, she will be a bit more smarter or intelligent, can I say, as to how she approaches an argument or how she wins an argument. So just because she doesn't have the last say, it doesn't mean she didn't win that argument. She just knows how to play it. She will also, she won't, it sounds quite conniving. She's not conniving in her approach to things, but her way she carries herself, the way she speaks, the way she addresses maybe her family, friends, colleagues, and just, you know, with a lady, you notice a lady because when she walks, you know, people kind of look. She's not seen. She's not one of these people that's in the background. We didn't see her come. She walks through the office, everybody knows that. They may not want to look at her, but she's the person that they kind of like, okay, looking, even if they're looking with the side eye, but they're not trying to show that they're looking because she raises heads. She lights up a room because she knows how to speak. And she doesn't necessarily, you know, if you get rough and tough with her, she can intelligently cuss you out, you know, and just one of those things where, you know, where she will speak that word. After she's gone, when you're thinking about it, you realize, oh, I've just been cussed out. So it's really about, you know, how she thinks and how she carries herself, and how her whole approach really. So, you know, she can get ghetto without being ghetto. Do you understand? You know, so as India Iris said, it's not a lady is what? It's not what you, it's not, you know, it's what you know. Yeah, she just doesn't do the norm. She knows that there is a way, and you know, some of our examples of ladies that have in our stories are people like oh my gosh, she's got that on my head. Why is that always happening at the right time? Maya Angelou, who's a lady, because how she carried herself, she was very ladylike, but she's very intelligent about her words, you know, so she could get to the point. People like, I even say Shahrazad Ali, you know, how she speaks is so simplified, but it's so intelligent, and she can break it down. You know, so those are kind of ladylike behavior. Her etiquettes comes into play. She thinks about everything before she opens her mouth. She thinks she knows how to address situations. She doesn't just go rushing in. You don't see her getting angry to the point where someone gets her so angry she just loses control. No, she's very controlled. When she's at home, she's a mum. When she's at home, she's a wife. When she's you know, at work, she does her work. You know, don't think that she doesn't get depressed or get down. Yeah, she gets all of those, but she just knows. When you know, you know.
Now it makes sense. So yeah, I'll be looking in the mirror. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're going to continue with that topic that Sister Simone brought up. So, Sister Azandi, can a person exhibit both traits of what Associate Pastor Karen said is a line state stepper and a lady in behavior and mindset? Can a person exhibit both of those?
Well, I think what we have to realize is that we are all women. I think the key word here, right? If you look on the side of the screen, it says ladies, and you're
Mm-hmm.
mentioning lady, right? And so when we say lady, we're making a distinction between a woman and a lady. So what we have to realize is that there are certain characteristics, there are certain behaviors of a woman. And within trying to become a lady, as we are all becoming, you will exude some of those same behaviors until you have fully stepped into your ladyhood, right? We spoke about pushing things to the limit. That's what that
Mm-hmm.
line is. Pushing, that crossing that line, that's the line between womanhood and ladyhood. And it's a thin line, just like it's a thin line
Mm-hmm.
between love and hate. It's a thin line between womanhood and it's a thin line between ladyhood. A woman will push it to that limit. So it hits the fan and then you get all the blowback. But a lady knows when is the time, when is the place, when do you speak, when do you be quiet, when do you yield? So we have to understand that there's a big difference between the behaviors of a lady and the behaviors of a woman. And as you're crossing over, like Pastor Karen Hilton said, she mentioned that you would kind of have this controlled nature, but you would say, hey, what's the argument? Like, it's not that I'm not winning the argument, but I know how to play it. And as you're crossing over, when you get to the other side, it's not even about winning the argument anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you're moving to ladyhood, that in between is okay, well, I know how to play it. But once you reach ladyhood, you don't want to win the argument. You want to win the family back. You want to win for liberation. You want to win for family, for tribe, and for nation. So it's not about winning the moment. In chess, when you're playing chess, sometimes you may have to sacrifice a piece. It's not about winning the moment. It's about winning the game. So I think that's the difference. And you will see some of those behaviors until we truly step in and learn what ladyhood is and redefine it for us today.
Yes. All right. I'm taking my notes.
I'll jump over to Sister Sherelle, following on from Sister Zande. So Sister Zande mentioned that, it's not about winning the moment. Do you feel, Sister Sherelle, that there may be certain environments that it may be accepted or it's celebrated being a line stepper? Do you feel that may have to come out of like a lady at times based on the situation you're in, or should we always be in that ladyhood state, that behavior mindset state?
Okay, so I don't know if it's just me, but I can hear a really distinct echo. So right now you're still talking, Sister Simone, but I understand the question. Is there a time to be a lady or is there a time to be a line stepper? Am I right?
That's correct, sis.
Okay. It's such a weird echo. I can hear myself now. Absolutely, absolutely. I think there are certain situations that might call for you to push your boundaries a little bit. Um, as Atonis ladies, we kind of ascribe to having kind of a elegance and a dignity and a respect about the way you conduct yourself in certain situations, particularly when you're pushed, particularly when you're under stress and under duress, and around people that perhaps don't understand your way of life,
Mhm.
don't particularly live by any kind of scripture, don't understand the discipline that you're trying to follow, and they will push your buttons. And sometimes, perhaps, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. If you're going to come at me, maybe I should come at you back. Maybe fight some fire with fire.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's a little bit necessary. And
Would you be
as much
prepared
as that
for the
might be
burden?
necessary, there is still an element within that where you are able to, stay refined, stay dignified, don't lose your cool, don't get wrapped up in that emotion, don't let the anger run away with you, but let someone know, no, this is my way of life, this is the way I choose to live, this is how I would like to educate my children. No, you can't have a say in that. There are certain things where there's an absolute hard line, and those might be the places where there's a bit of a gray area between that quiet dignity and grace, and that very abrupt no. I hope that makes sense. I think it's interesting. I find that in this day and time, things are coming around full circle. The 90s and the 2000s was very much about being an independent, strong Black woman, doing for yourself, very kind of individualistic. And I find that things are coming back around to that Christ consciousness, that consciousness about that we need each other, and unity is the only way we are going to win together. So actually, rather than that strong Black female kind of narrative, I find a lot more women are embracing ladyhood, who are embracing having a level of understanding about your role inside and outside the home, a level of understanding about your role in fighting for liberation for your people, fighting for better education for your children, fighting for better healthcare for your people. Those kind of things, I'm seeing much more of an emergence of a new style of ladyhood, and I love it. I'm very much here for it, and I'm hoping that those of us here can champion that and illustrate that and be part of that movement.
Okay.
Greetings, my sisters. Before y'all continue, if any of you have another device that you may be watching this on YouTube or watching this on some other, you might have another device, or you may even on the device you're on had clicked to YouTube to see if it worked. When you did, it's playing in the background. So if you have another screen opened up on YouTube, go to your YouTube and mute that screen. That's why you're hearing it feeding back, because it's in the background, and they're both on one. So somebody here, one of us in this that's in the studio right now, you have YouTube opened up. That's why you're hearing that secondary voice. Look at your YouTube and just mute it. Go to YouTube on your other device, or even on the device that you're on. Go to YouTube and mute that for us, please. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're all good. Okay. So, Sister Sherelle, you brought up a good point. You mentioned the word boundaries, and I love this word because we all have our own definition of it. So I looked it up, and it means boundaries are the limits of what you belong to. They help define what you're comfortable with. So would you say that boundaries are necessary in a relationship?
Necessary, yes, in all relationships, whether it's male-female relationship, parental relationships, especially those grandparents, business relationships. I think boundaries are actually very fundamental. I just think a lot of us haven't been taught how to set them correctly or how to enforce them effectively. I'm definitely speaking from experience there. Sometimes it's very difficult to stand your ground when it's people that you love. It's very difficult to stand your ground when it's people that feel the best for you, but don't necessarily think the best for you. So yes, absolutely. I think it's a really good point. Boundaries are essential, but I don't think many of us have thought about how to set them appropriately and how to enforce them effectively. And I'm not claiming to be an expert in that. Maybe we should do a class on that.
I think we should. Circulate it. All right. So, Omi Christine Forbes, what she said was great. We do need our boundaries and things like that. But would you say that boundaries are our trigger points? And if so, how would you address them?
I agree with Sister Sherelle. In my relationship with my spouse, that was a problem. I didn't think he set boundaries to accommodate the marriage. So you could attempt a conversation with someone, but unless they're ready to listen to you, I don't think you would get anywhere.
Okay. All right, I agree with that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned those grandparents. Yeah, Sister Umi, I'm looking at you with a little side eye. Are you one of those? Are you going to be one of those grandparents? I said no sweeties for the kids, and I see you sneaking the sweeties, sneaking some candy around the corner.
I'm there for the rules, so they'll probably get approved. cute. Yeah.
Okay, Sister Zandi, I'll come to your side of the waters. Associate Pastor Karen mentioned when she was defining like a line stepper and a lady in behavior that it doesn't mean, we don't get depressed. It doesn't mean we don't feel stressed or I guess like the weight on our shoulders. Uh, so what are some of like the healthy coping mechanisms that women can utilize to manage like stress, anxiety, or other challenges whilst we still have to, I guess, sustain the household, be in that ladyhood manner? How would we cope when we're, feeling stressed?
One of the biggest ways when it comes to stress and coping is to have knowledge of whatever it is that you're going through, to have knowledge of what causes the stress, how do you react to stress, what are your trigger points. So once you learn about yourself, the very body that you live in, right? What is it? What is your environment like that you created? What do you eat? What do you listen to? Because sometimes we think that the other person or the people around us is stressful, but really you have all these other stressful things that you're intaking on a daily basis, be it the music that you're listening to, the unbalanced diet that you may think may be a good diet, but you haven't really looked into the way that it interacts with you specifically, your DNA, your blood type, all of these different things. There is a science to how we should live, how we should breed, how we should interact with the people around us, and how we should create our environment. So when it comes to stress, you have to be able to look at everything that you're coming in contact with to pinpoint what is really stressing me. And another question would be, am I stressing myself? Because sometimes we think that there's external things that are stressing us, but it's the internal problems that we have. It's the internal battle that is stressing us because we haven't changed the way that we see things, the way our perception, our vantage point has not changed. So if you don't change your vantage point, the things that you look at will be stressful to you because you have you're looking at it from the perception that was given to you by someone else. But if you hold on to, if you learn, if you seek to know the way that your culture, your religion, you're here as a Tonist, or if you're a Muslim, what does the Quran say? If you're Christian, what does the Bible say? And wherever you are, that should help you deal with stress because it should tell you who you are. It should tell you how to react. It should tell you what to deal with, what to be around. Everything that you're coming in contact with should be guided. And if you have that focal point, you should be able to work through the stress, the daily stress that we go through. But again, a lot of it comes to your mentality. Why do I think the way that I think about this person, about this situation, about this environment? Why do I not like this? Why? Because a lot of times we stress ourselves out unnecessarily for things that we can't control, things that don't hold much relevancy, things that in the grand scheme of things means nothing. And so you sit around and you conjure up this whole I think we're really good at that, right? As women, we come up with this whole scenario in our minds. We played a movie out, right? I've done it, I've been there, and I just know this happened. And after that, this happened. And after that, this happened. So you come up with this movie and you know that this is exactly how it happened. And then after you lash out, or after you express yourself, or after you stress yourself for 7 to 10 days, or after you do all of this, you find out that it was nothing. So stress is a lot of times not just the environment, but it's the internal environment. So I think a lot of times we have to understand ourselves more. We have to understand who we are. What did you eat last night? Are you irritated because is your diet irritating you? Is your trauma a big cause of that stress because you're never able to approach that trauma? A lot of the things that we avoid subconsciously stresses us because there's things that happen just in your lifetime. We're not even talking generational trauma, but just in your lifetime that you haven't approached, right? And you've dealt with people, both friends, family, and in relationships where you had, relations with people that now you hold on to their stress, right? We can get into, I'm trying not to go deep down that but you take on a lot of energy from other people. And so because you take in all of these things, these fluids, the energy, and all these different things from people, and you don't understand how it's interacting with you and what's going on inside of you. So I think the biggest thing to approach stress is to know more about yourself, know more about what you've done in the past, what you're doing in the present, and then now moving into the future. What do I have to change? It doesn't have to be big leaps, but it can be a small thing. Okay, let me try to add this, balance out my hormones, balance out my emotions. I think when I eat that, man, I'd be having some crazy thoughts, too much sugar. Okay, cut that out my diet. Okay, this person trigger. So, different things, but you have to be able to maybe write it down, have a journal and say, okay, now you can track it, because we all have patterns. And if we understand our patterns, now we can catch ourselves every month. I start acting a little crazy around this date, the 20th. Okay. All right, every 6th. So now once you start to write it down and you're journaling and you're seeing your own patterns, then you can identify those things that are triggering you and causing the stress. But if we just say, hey, this person, that person, red, blue, green, then you'll always be a victim of stress. And a lot of times we're addicted to stress. We're addicted to the stress hormones. And I think people don't realize that you can be addicted to stress. People like stress. And subconsciously, if you look at a lot of the relationships today amongst men and women, they're toxic, and people don't feel like they're in a relationship unless it's toxic, unless it's an argument, unless it's something, right? So when you I have a visitor, sorry. So a lot of times when you have
Love your hair.
a lot of times when you have these different things happening, if you're unable to recognize it, I think that's the point. And so we are addicted to that constant back and forth, so much so that you find yourself in a relationship where everything is going good, everything is well, and you're like, something's not right. This is too peaceful. So peace, we come to a day and time where peace is abnormal. Stress has become the normal, and peace has become abnormal. Something is wrong because this is too peaceful. Something is wrong because we're not arguing. Something is wrong because we're not fighting. Something is wrong. So we have to look at, we could go into this all types of ways, but we have to look at the society we find ourselves into, and what type, how strong we hold ourselves to those beliefs, and how deep did we dive into that reality, that now once we look at stress, you'll start to come and you'll back up and you say, man, it's not worth it. It's really not that deep. It's not as deep as I made it seem.
I want to thank you, Sister Zandy, because you've actually made me think and reflect. It's true. Like with stress, it's, this person, my manager, this, my relatives, they, them. And it's, you really do need to take that step back, look within and figure out, like, even like what you mentioned, what did I eat the night before? Was it, chicken and chips? Was it a pizza? Was it processed food? What is it that's triggering your hormones? And a lot of us don't take that time to sit back and look within, or even do simple tasks, like you said, write a journal so you can actually figure out specific dates. So I'm going to get my journal. Start. So yeah, it's really important that we look within. Yeah, there's sometimes that's can be the cause of other people, but
there's always going to be someone. There's always going to be someone to push you or to trigger you, or someone to irritate. There's always going to be that person. You can't control that. right? But what you can control is yourself. So why am I so moved by this person? If we understand that people are sick, right? We are trying to become better ourselves. So we realize the sickness. How can you let the patient make you mad? How can you let the patient, but you come to a same asylum, all these crazy people, and you let them make you mad? You're supposed to be the same one walking in the door. It shows that we have some work to do on ourselves as well.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, she did. She made me think. I was in here processing it like, oh wow, but she hit on something that I really love because we talk about it all the time. You have to know yourself, and part of knowing yourself is knowing what's going on inside of your body. And one topic that I know all of us can grow in, and we all have been growing in, is learning about our hormones and what causes stress. She brought up a good point. People are stressed, they're addicted to it. But if they actually go and they look into it and they realize, oh, well, stress is caused by cortisol, that hormone, which, increases your sugar and does all these other things to you, then we may be able to balance our hormones. I'm not going to call on any specific sister, whoever wants to take the question. Let's go for it that way. Let's make this a real conversation. Let's keep it going. But how can we learn?
Welcome Nurse Sharice Hannah. She just flew all the way from Nassau, just landed, touchdown, ran straight out the airplane, straight into so let's welcome Nurse Sharice Hannah.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm a bit frustrated, but I'm glad to be here. So
you
glad
went through a lot.
Yes.
We could talk about my day was, I guess, my cortisol levels are bit up right now because of what I went through just to be here. But it's such a pleasure to see you all.
Yes.
Another thing that I wanted to talk about and even to share, it's that I get up early before everybody else gets up. So 5 o'clock, my alarm goes off, and then that's my me time. I pick out one of my books, I start to read, or I'll listen to some chants, or listen to Sila at 6 o'clock. And that's something that helps to prepare me for my day, because I have one of those, I have one of those managers that get on your nerves. I think it's him and not me kind of thing. But it's something that I do to get myself prepared for the day. That me time before my husband and my son gets up. That 5 o'clock in the morning, right before I make breakfast and get my day started. That Sila, those chants, those prayers, that helps to prepare me as I go through the day, to help me before I allow my cortisol levels to get up or decide to eat something horrible for lunch. But those chants, they do help before my day starts.
I'm glad you have a routine. That's something I am working on right now. Getting my routine in order. It is a work in progress. But how would you all say we should balance our hormones? Since we all say we have a lot of sayings, women are so emotional. We're always caught up in our emotions. We're always in our feelings, and emotions and feelings, of course, are tied to your hormones. So how would anyone can jump in here? And how would you say that we need to learn how to balance our hormones?
Namaste. What I am starting to do is change my eating habit, cut out all the, well, not all, but most of the sugar and the starch, and bring more fruits and vegetables into it. And also be consistent with my walking, which is something I have to work on.
Any other examples?
Another thing I'd like to add to is that, getting to know yourself, it's and part of getting to know yourself is making those annual appointments to your doctor. As we age, I don't know if anybody could relate, but as you age, your hormone level changes as women. You know, so even if you, when you go to your doctor, you get those levels checked just to see what's going on, you know, and that will help you even to know, okay, I need to probably eat this, or probably drink some hibiscus tea, or, you know, drink something that'll help with the estrogen levels in our bodies, to help with those mood swings and all of that. So keeping your annual appointments with your doctor is another way that we can just get to know ourselves and help ourselves with knowing what's going on in our body too.
Yes.
So
To briefly add to that, a lot of times, surprisingly enough, the things that we don't want to do are the very things that will help us balance out our hormones, right? I believe it was Sister Sharice Hannah, Nafir, Miss Christine Forbes, who mentioned walking, right? Walking, sometimes we get depressed or sad or upset or just busy and we don't want to walk, we don't have the time, we just don't feel like it. But walking and it boosting your dopamine, and walking and listening to things that are constructive, and talking, having constructive conversations, all of these different things help you to balance out your hormones. But a lot of times we get to the point where we don't want to walk, we don't want to exercise. We may be with a man, with our partner, or with our husband, with your spouse, and you get upset and you want to hold everything to yourself, and you can't touch me, and I'm just, but really that interaction is what boosts the oxytocin in your body. It's what boosts the dopamine in your body. Meditation boosts the oxytocin in your body. All of these things that you don't want to do are the very things that will help to balance out your hormones. So stop being selfish when you're mad, you know, at home, and try to have that touch. The interaction is really the touch, and the, you know, that intimacy that helps to give you that boost and oxytocin and dopamine, and the things that really will kind of give you that, the pleasure hormones. And also meditation. Sometimes we just constantly go, and we take so much in, and we hear so much, but we never just shut up. I think we have a problem shutting up, right?
I agree with that.
I think we don't shut up and practice.
shut up and keep it still.
Yes. 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, right? Whatever time, and then you can increase it as you go. But take time to just be quiet. If it's before bed, when you wake up, those could be the two times, right? The time right before you go to sleep, the time when you wake up. When I give my daughter a shower or a bath, sometimes she just still be on go. And I'm like, okay, you know what time it is. When it's time for to bathe, calm down. Let's do the breathing. So she breathing and she moving, and I'm like, no, this ain't that. No, we want to breathe. And so I think a lot of times it's because we're just learning it at 20 and 30 and 40 and 50. We haven't learned it. We didn't have these customs and these practices when we were young. So if we take the time to teach our youth from the beginning, hey, sit still for a little bit, think. Because if you're constantly on go, you never get to think. So you're going to automatically take on someone else's opinion, because someone else is thinking for you, because you can't think for yourself. You don't have the time to think for yourself. You're working, you're cooking, you're talking. You don't get to think for yourself. Where if you would have just sat down, you would have been like, you know what? Somebody implanted that thought. The conversation with Rebecca or whoever, she said that, which is why I think that, but I don't really feel that, you know? So just take some time to think. I think that's key.
I'm taking notes.
May I add to that? Do we have enough time?
Join it down.
Sister Shabria, should we go to the juicy part of the topic? Because I think we've been a bit calm and everyone, yeah, let's get a bit juicy in the conversation.
Go ahead and stir the pot.
So we've covered you know, the difference between a line stepper, a lady in behavior. We've gone through, you know, emotions, hormones, how we manage stress. But I want to get through to submission in the relationship. So we covered how we should be a lady, how we should carry ourselves, how we should approach things. And I'm going to throw out the question like Sister Shabria, so anyone can just jump in. In what ways can the idea of submission in a marriage impact the dynamics of power and decision making within the relationship? Or can it?
Okay, so let me go first because
I was looking right at you.
Like, who's gonna take it?
I wanted to say something from the last one. I was like,
Oh, go ahead.
like Sister Azandi Go, she's inspiring me. I'm writing all these notes from things that she's saying, Sister Sharita, and I'm like, oh, I want to say something too. But anyway, we'll come to that. But no, it's okay. So I think the dynamics and the submission is not to look at it from the European perspective, because the Europeans has given us a definition of what submission means. So when we say, I'm not submitting, some women say, I'm not submitting to my man, I'm not submitting to no man. But what are you actually saying? Because where is that definition coming from? You've been taught that, or they taught us that, that means you got to give up all your rights and submit to this man, because their women were fighting against their men. They were fighting for feminism. So they taught us never submit means you giving up everything. Well, it doesn't. Because in ancient Africa and our tradition and our rights and how we behaved, we knew our place. And the places, and you see, we have terminologies that are used now. Like, we knew our place. And they said, and straight away your backs are up. Because they like to say they, and I say the Europeans, they, like to say a woman's place is in the kitchen. We're not saying that. A woman's place is at the helm of the family, because she was the one that brought the babies, taught the babies, was the first teachers. So when we say we submit to the men, it's not submission by the definition of the European or the whites or the Arabs or anybody else. It's the definition of how Africans look at submission to a husband. When you get into the bedroom, you got to submit to that man, whether you like it or not. You got to submit. You might be, I'm the one who's controlling. Yeah, but you're not the one entering anything. He's entering you. So therefore, you submit, because you have to open your legs. You want to get into the conversation. Let's be real. You got to submit. So there are times when you have to understand. Okay, so what does that really mean? And we have to really look at it from our perspective. We have to define what does submission mean. And submission is, I'm working with my husband. I understand that he's going to carry me. I understand that he's going to be there for me, and I'm going to be there for him at certain times. Joe said, I know that there is times I'm going to need to be quiet. I might want to say something. I might say it in another conversation. Right now is not that time. So let him have his. Stop reducing the man to a male female. Stop reducing him to be, your understudy. The man has his works. He has his job. Allow him to be the man. Stop trying to take off his trousers and give him your skirt. And some of us have, and some of us do that because we want to control. No, allow him to be who he is. That's why you're attracted to that man, because you want to have him. So allow him to speak. Give him his voice, and you have yours. Come together, because we look at okay, that's the man and that's the woman. No. This is the family. You have the right leg and you have the left leg. You have the right arm and you have the left arm. And these two come together, make one body.
That's right.
So by doing that, we have to, yes, we do have to submit. Submit to allow this family to be successful. Submit. So what does that mean? So we have to make sure that we defining what that is in our family, in our relationship, before we take on anybody else's opinion.
Yes. Right. See, I seen it in her eyes. That's why I was looking.
Get that off.
You know what? I echo.
Well said.
I echo everything that Pastor Karen Hilton said. She took it right, the words right out of my mouth. I seen it coming. And I just want to add to that. Is that okay, or should I wait?
Yes, no, you can go ahead. Yes, we're gonna be on this topic.
Very, very briefly. I think a lot of times when we hear the word submit, we miss a piece, and we think I'm submitting to the man. And in submitting to the man, you feel like you're giving up your control. You feel like you're being controlled, right? And first off, we're not even going to talk about submitting to the man that's doing all the debauchery, because why would you be with that man? We're going to presume that we're talking about a good, righteous man. We're going to presume that we're talking about a man of purpose, right? So if you chose to be with that man, and you're good enough, and he's good enough to lay with you in the bed, and he's good enough to have a child by, and he's good enough to pay your bills, he's good enough to do all the things you want him to do, then that means that you have seen, or you have to see, a portion of the Creator in that man. And so when you submit to a man, you're not submitting to the man, you're submitting to the presence of the sustainer in the man. You're submitting to the Most High in the man, because the second that you don't see the presence of the Most High in that man, I would say, like anybody else, run. There's no need to stay with a man who is not exuding the presence of the sustainer and living righteously by way of the scriptures. So if we're saying submit, what are you submitting to? And if you're submitting to a man that is a man of God, if you're submitting to a man that's a man of Allah, a man, whatever name you want to put to it, then you have to stand by and have full confidence in that man leading you, and that man being the authority for the family, and that man being all of these things that we're giving him the ability to do for ourselves and our children. You have to have confidence in that, because you chose the man. You chose to lay with him. And if you keep choosing the wrong man to lay with, then it's time to not just look at the man, but it's time to look at yourself and say, well, what is it that I'm attracted to? Because I must not be attracted only to the good. What is the sinful nature? What is the, what is that little bit of that I'm attracted to in that man? And then approach that within yourself, because that is the problem that we're having when we're saying submit. It's like, oh, now he's going to control me. But if you knew he was a good man, he's only going to control you towards doing the right thing.
Right. So
he's not telling you to go hit the crack pipe and to go shoot a needle in your arm. He's not telling you to. What is that man telling you? And if that man is only telling you the right thing, then what's the problem with submitting?
Shabria, the pot's boiling.
I agree with that. Can I add to that too?
Yes, ma'am.
So, like Sister Azandi said, assuming this is a righteous man, a man that is following some kind of doctrine, a man that is embodying that level of divinity that you aspire to, assuming that's the man we're talking about, there's some very interesting definitions of submission online. I've had some fun dabbling in this AI chat GPT recently. So I typed in, what does it mean to submit to a man? And there's some very, very sensible stuff came up. Like, I don't know how these algorithms work, but I was very impressed with the whole sermon that came up on submission. So one of the definitions that came up that kind of spoke to me that I wanted to share, it talks about submission as a calling. So it's the calling of a wife, not a girlfriend, not a side piece or whatever. It says calling of a wife to honor and affirm her husband's leadership and to help carry it through according to her gifts. So to me, three things stood out. First of all, the man's leadership. Like Sister Azandi said, are you recognizing that this man is head of your household? Do you recognize him as that? Is that a conversation you all have had? How have you established that he is head of this household? Is there an agreement that he makes decisions about certain things, or comes to you to discuss decisions about certain things, and that he might have the final say on certain things because he has more in-depth knowledge, etc. So it's affirming his leadership in that sense. Then the other side of submission, the other part of this calling, is helping him in this leadership through your gifts. So that made the word submission much more relatable for me, because it was a sense of, I have something to offer in this. Submission is not just laying down and being quiet. Submission is not just accepting something you don't agree with. Submission is about, what do I have to bring to, what am I bringing to the table here? What gifts do I have that can help and affirm this man's leadership? And assuming you're both working towards a particular set of goals for your family, a particular set of goals for your community, then it should be easy enough to agree how your gifts and his gifts come together to achieve those goals. So that definition really stood out in me. I looked at the biblical versions, and I agree with everything the sisters have said so far. But those three parts really stood out for me: affirming his leadership and helping him by using your gifts. So I wanted to share that one. Can I also say that I know if there's some Christians who know their Bible who are listening in on this topic, I know what a lot of people go to, the verses in the Bible that talk about women not speaking in the church. First Timothy 2 talks about women not teaching in the church, women not telling a man what to do. First Corinthians also repeats the same. And I think sometimes that gets mixed in with the submission part. And actually, they're two very different things. If we look at submission as a calling of a wife, your duty, your responsibility as a wife, that's very different from some old school laws about not speaking in the church. There's a whole other sermon on that. But if we're talking about submission, it's not about just the laying down. It's about that offering your gifts to support your man's leadership. So I think that's a nice way to think about submission, if it's one of those words that trigger you.
Very quickly, before the next person jumps in, if you go to the etymology, it speaks about submit. Now, it says to submit, place oneself under control of another, yield, most importantly, yield oneself, become submissive. Now, not in a negative way, don't look at it in a negative way. Then it breaks the word down and goes to mission. Now, this part is I thought was really, really, really poignant, was meaning an organized effort to spread of religion or for the enlightenment of the community. So, think about that when you look at submission. Do you know what I mean? It's something that although you're yielding, I'm yielding to him. Hey, he's leader, he's protector. You know what I mean? But we're coming together as organized mission to do something. So I'll just throw that in before the next person speaks.
And I promise I won't say anything else, right? Jerry Hooks brought up a really good point. I promise I'm done after this, right? Because I'm listening to what Sister Sherelle Park said and what Associate Pastor Karen Hilton said. And the only reason I find it necessary to say this is because some women may not feel they have a gift, right? Some women may be trying to find their purpose or maybe trying to find their gift. And depending on the man that you're with, they may be the one to give you or to help you find that gift. So if the man is the one to give you that gift and to show you and say, we find purpose in this together, right? If you didn't have any predisposition to what you were adding to the man, what if the gifts that you think you had are not needed for the mission and the purpose and the calling? Are you still okay with submitting to that man for him to provide you with the gifts that are necessary to complete or to complete that mission or calling? So would you still be okay if you think that you didn't have the gift, and if the man is giving it to you, do you feel that's taken away from you? Or do you still feel like that was a gift that you were able to receive, that you were receptive enough to take in and say, this is what's needed? Maybe what I thought that I can offer, maybe what I thought that I had may not be necessary yet in the equation, but I'm still receptive enough. It's not taking away from who I am. It's not making me less of a woman. It's not saying that I have nothing to give, but just my receptivity to work with my man is still a gift, because it's people who can't hear, people who can't listen to people. So that's a gift in its own. So if you feel like you don't have a gift, it's okay to know that you can still receive that gift from whoever you had chose that man to be. I just want to say that, and I promise I'm done. I'm so sorry.
No, we love it. So we've been talking about Namaste. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Omi. Go ahead.
Okay. My input with that one is the woman submits to the man once the man is submitted to the Most High. If he's submitted to seeking righteousness. But if he's the leader into unrighteousness, then I don't think there's been no submission there.
Yes.
I think we all saw the same message. Yes, I agree 100% with that. I think a lot of times we've been so programmed to think of submission as we previously called it. Well, I'm giving up my ladyhood or I'm giving up my voice, and it's really not that at all. And I also think another issue is we don't actually go into the words and we don't look at it. We get into these relationships, have our husbands, and we just say, oh, well, he's my husband, but not realizing that a husband is a man of service. He's a man, like the sister Zandi said, who has that portion of creator with him. He's going to lead you. He's going to guide you. Your husband is your trainer. He's your director. He's the master of the household. And we often, talk about these things. And sometimes people, especially young ladies coming up, I have a 17-year-old sister who's only seen maybe 2 successful relationships in her life. So can we all just quickly, we're going to, of course, keep it very, very, very briefly, just give us some real life examples of what submitting to your husband looked like or did look like, when you were with him, so that we can give everybody an example of what to expect and what to do. That way they don't have an illusion of what submission is. We can just start with Sister Zandi, and we can just work our way down to the stream. There we go.
Okay. I'll keep it brief. An example of how I've had to submit. I think one of the biggest things is that, I had to kind of get rid of what I thought love is, what I thought being a wife is, what I thought, like my concepts on a lot of things, I kind of had to just revisit and kind of just submit to what was being given to me. And I think what's on the screen may kind of tie into this as well. Give us an example of the gifts a man can give you. One of the gifts can be perception. I think a lot of times we don't understand we have 2 totally different viewpoints. And so a man looking at things from a man's world and a man's experience as a Black man, specifically a Nubian man, a melanated man, he has the ability to give you a different perception. And if you're able to receive it and receive the perception and not tell him what it has to be because that's how you see it, and if you're not so defensive against what it is that's being given to you, then you can see the beauty in the gift, and now you can submit to that thinking. You're submitting to a different way of thinking. You're submitting to a different way of looking at life. Not just looking at him, but looking at the family, looking at the life that you're living, looking at your purpose, looking at, so now you're submitting to a different calling. Because before being with the righteous man, if we look at our past and we look at, the people we were with before and the things that we've done, you have submitted. I know Sister Umyamini Fair said, I'm not going to submit if it's not a man of God, but we have submitted to men who weren't men of God. So we've submitted to the devil just as much as we're now trying to submit to the Most High. We've submitted to the devil in men. And we have had that, and have that nature and had that nature in ourselves. So I think when we're looking at submitting, it's okay. Am I okay with taking on and changing what I feel things are and what I feel things should be? Bibi Shahrazad Ali says, man, we just want things the way we want it. And if it's not the way we want it, then you can't hear. We can't hear. You can't. The Black woman, sometimes we just want things the way we want it, and if it's not the way we want it, then all hell breaks loose.
Right, we limit ourselves.
Part of submitting is knowing, okay, can I just give a little softer approach and a softer appeal to myself? And within that, and then once you calm down and you kind of get them hormones leveled out and you calm down, now you can hear and perceive differently. So I think, again, submitting is submitting to a different, but that's for me personally. Right. I had to submit because I was like, what? Wait, what? Okay. But, so it destroyed everything. It feels like it's destroying everything in you that you believe, but you're built up to be so much better. And I think that's, again, when you're talking about the right man. So
she always brings it, right? We're just gonna move on to the next question.
All right. So, am I next?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have March 18th made 29 years married to one man. 29 years, 4 children, 1 grandchild. You know, um, with with when I'd like to give an example. So I grew up with 2 parents, and even when they were divorced, I grew up with 2 parents because my dad made sure that he was still very present. And when I went into my marriage, I went into my marriage saying divorce is not an option. I saw in my husband what Sister Zandi said. Back then we were both Christians growing up in the Christian church. And to me, I saw in him that divinity. And as a result, I'm thinking as a result, 29 years later, we're still together. We're still thriving, we're still growing, and we're still very much, Sister Zandi, in love.
Yes, I love it.
However, for me, our 29 years didn't come. It was no easy walk in the park. It was not a breeze. It came with challenges. But with those challenges, we were both determined that failure. My husband always says this to our children: failure is not an option. Mediocrity is not an option either. So for me in my marriage, my finances, being able to pool resources and say, this isn't my money, this is our money, and I think if I had not submitted to that financial part of our lives, would not be where we are today, being able to take care of our kids, being able to school them in college, being able to do investments and stuff like that, because I don't have a conscience when it comes down to spending. But my husband, he rethinks, he thinks, he talks about it. But you think about this, before he even acts, before he even invests, he just thinks that thing right out till it's there. So I think for me, the financial part of it was a struggle, but now it's easier. It's like, I don't even check the bank book. He'll be telling me, oh, I did this, that, and I say, okay, thanks for letting me know. Oh, you got paid. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'm like that now, but at the initial phases, it wasn't like that. But now I'm like, okay, you got it. And I'm glad you have it, because we would have been a pauper if you'd listened to me with the financial part. And I think that's where in any marriage you have to realize who's stronger with doing certain things, and to just give that up and submit, okay, that's not my cup of tea. I don't handle that well. But I trust you. Once you keep me abreast, once you ask me my opinion and allow me to give input in whatever decision that or venture that we're heading into, that respect is something that I value too. And so 29 years later, yeah, he's still the finance man, even though he tell people I'm the finance woman. But he's very good at keeping us on track financially. So I don't regret submitting in that department. So that's my gist of the 29 years.
Okay, ladies, this has been the first segment this evening. Most of these ladies, if not all of them, will be back at some point tonight, and then others will be with us tomorrow, day 2. We're going to be taking a slight commercial break and bring in our other panelists, other hostesses or moderators. We pray that you're enjoying this presentation of the Ladies of Purpose Conference. This year is 2024, and we are in discussion. This is a three-part discussion this evening. We pray that you've learned something for those listening online. This year's overarching theme is the Ladies of Purpose, reclaiming ladyhood. And I believe that these ladies on the screen have represented the reclamation of ladyhood, its finest. The rest of the thing is awesome. We'll be coming right back with how to balance the emotions of women women's submission. Oh, that was y'all. That was this. Oh, sorry. Let me read the other one. Angry Black woman, career, education, family, tell your story. So we're going to take a slight commercial break. And this is the Holy Catholic Church of Black Journey Home Group International, dedicated to learning. This is 2024, Ladies of Purpose, Only Lady.
Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 31 is a mother, wife, entrepreneur, and more.
My children and grandchildren were born into a modern enslavement. An enslavement that uses systems, policies, and at times, outright violence to keep them captive. I sometimes think to myself, why did I bring them here into this? And not because I do not love them. It's actually the opposite. I'm afraid for them to live in a place that allows them to be prey to an oppressive system. I lay in the bed at night waiting for my husband or my sons to come home. When I watch TV and see yet another Black person being murdered because they are Black, I cry out. When a police car pulls behind me, my heart races. Someone once asked me, have you ever had a gun drawn on you? Yes, I have, and most of the time, it was by police. I believed that if I went to the right schools, I spoke the right way, I showed up professionally with all those letters behind my name, that they would see past my anger. I am going to stop apologizing and hiding my rage. It is a warranted and necessary tool. And I invite all Black women to join me. I need you to see me authentically in my anger, sadness, joy, and triumph. That is the only way we can move forward. Toni Morrison said, I get angry, then go on and work. Our anger is justified, but we must engage constructively. It is time for us to create equal justice systems that protect our human rights. The baton that we pass to the next generation must be filled with resilience, joy, and hope. We will not stop running this race until we achieve change. Company, just get used to it.
Being Black woman and young in the work environment is very, very challenging because immediately they want to disrespect you. For some weird reason, older white people want to just automatically just be like, whatever you're saying is just stupidity and I want to disrespect you however I can.
Code switching is essentially when you know that you cannot be fully oneself when you're talking. So there are times when I'm talking to white people, I have to amend my speech and change that because I'm like, if I start talking a particular way, you're not going to get it.
I've used code switching in many contexts, mostly at work. I turn it on. I have to be my best unauthentic self in order for me to relate to my white peers. And I have to make sure that I can talk about subjects that relate to your lifestyle that have absolutely nothing to do with mine.
I can switch from a Nigerian accent to like being here, living in New York for 15 years and be like dead ass OD and it's fine. And then like go into my more proper sounding voice, whatever that is.
Hi, this is Ryan Ashley. It's so nice to meet you. I call myself multilingual because I can go back and forth between different languages. Southern Black, Northern Black, code switching for the white.
Holy smoke. It's the wood that makes it good. You ought to come get you some. Smoke.
Why are we not being allowed to tell our own stories? And I am talking to Black women, but it's not just Black women, it's Black men as well, Black people in general. We are not always given an opportunity to tell our own stories. And I say now is the time to tell your story the way you want to tell your story. You get to define and to write what you want to be said about you as a person, as a group, as a collective, as an individual. So we don't have to wait for others to tell our story for us. We don't have to adhere to a narrative about us that was written for us by somebody else. We don't have to do that. We can simply start from where we are, go back if we want to start our story, start from where we are and go forward. However we want to do it, we can make those decisions. We can make those changes in how our narrative is communicated to others.
She's so hard to find. Virtuous woman. From my lips draws the river of life.
Welcome back. This is the Holy Catholic Church of the Black Messiah, Journey Home Group Institute. We are coming to you live. This is Ladies of Purpose 2024, coming to you as from all across the globe. There are those who merely talk. The Holy Catholic Church of the Black Messiah is doing. If you want to know more about the Holy Catholic Church of the Black Messiah, you can go to www.journeyhome.com. There you will find a link to be able to contact us, or you can text 646-479-9465. Or want to know more. We're going to be bringing them in right now. We're going to bring in the next moderators for segment number 2. We have Dr. Nicole Ford and Sister Azandi Ashanti Malinki. They will be joined by Mrs. Diana Powell, Mrs. Shaniqua Bethel, Mrs. Chandel Williams. In fact, I'll bring all of these ladies on and let them do what they do, and they'll announce themselves and tell us what it is that they're going to be discussing. At this time, let me bring Dr. Nicole Ford and Sister Azandi Ashanti Malinki on.
Namastu, welcome, good evening to everyone on Facebook and YouTube who's joining us today for the Ladies of Purpose, Reclaiming Ladyhood, Rise of the Divine Feminine. I am one of the moderators for this section, segment 2. My name is Dr. Ford. I'm also known as the Countess Counselor because I really am a counselor. And I'm also one of the hostesses of Melanin Minds and help to as a staff member of Maj Baby, which is Moment of Joy, Be a Better You Foundation. I've been providing counseling for over 20 plus years. And so it's been a long time. So as we get ready to go ahead and introduce a couple additional people who will be here, want to make sure we set a couple of ground rules, right? We're going to call this the grown big girl panty segment. And the reason why we're calling that here is because we're going to be bringing on people, individuals who will be discussing and having honest conversation. They're going to be not just giving examples from their own life, but they're going to also show you how through discipline and living a way of life, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Hebrew, when you actually have an actual standard, virtues, discipline, precepts, rites, and rituals that guide you, these ladies right here, they're going to bring it. Go ahead, Sister Zandi. Could you go ahead and bring in our couple of guests?
Yes, yes, we will bring in our guests. We have with us today Sister Makunda Nafir. Welcome and thank you for being with us today. We have with us Sister Shandell Williams out of Nassau, Bahamas. Alongside with her is Sister Jennifer. Is that her over there? I believe so. Yes, Namastu. And they are both again from Bahamas. So we have Sister Diane Powell. And we have with us, sorry, trying to bring them up as we go. Okay, Sister Diana Powell, she's over at the UAE. And we have with us Sister Shaniqua Bethel. Welcome.
So as we say welcome, I know that I gave a brief introduction. We're going to ask everyone to go ahead and introduce themselves, starting with the Alchemist Room, the lady from the London, UK, Sister Makunda. Then we're going to drop on down. We're going to cross over to Nassau, Bahamas with Sister Shan. Then we're going to go ahead and take a flight over to the UAE to speak to Sister Diane Powell. And last but not least, we're going to go ahead back to Bahamas because the weather's probably great over there with the water and everything, and speak to Sister Shaniqua Bethel. Go ahead, Sister Makunda. Start us off. Introduce yourself.
Namaste, everyone. I'm Mirkunda Nafir. As our lovely moderator, Dr. Ford, stated, I work in the Tree of Eternal Life as a herbal practitioner. I am a mother of 4, a student priestess, a jack of all trades with regards to creativity. And I'm honored to be here to join the discussion today. So thank you for having me.
Sister Shan, you have next, and Sister Jennifer. I did not. There we go. There we go. Sister Jennifer, Sister Kaniswa Bepti.
Okay, we'll move right on over while they get that together to Sister Diana Powell.
Namaste and greetings to everybody. How everyone's doing? I'm loving the show, by the way.
I'm loving and you're looking lovely and regal. I'm loving the white. Beautiful.
I'm Diana Powell. I currently live in the UAE. I've been in the Middle East now for too long now, 7 years. I'm a mother. I'm a wife for 23 years. I'm a businesswoman. I'm an educator. I've been in the education sector for over 20 years. I have a master's. Just graduated a year ago in education management. And, you know, I'm also a student priestess. I've been on this journey of liberation for our people now, pushing now 26 years. And I'm still here. And so I'm happy to be contributing to this conversation today.
Namaste,
Shaniqua Bethel here. I'm hailing from the beautiful sunny island of Nassau, the Bahamas. I did over 9 years in the financial and banking. I'm presently in the technical field now, information technology, and I also have a degree in agriculture. I am the mother of 3 beautiful daughters. I'm a member of the Holy Cryptic Church, and I'm very excited to be here for this 2-day conference. Can I be heard?
Yes, you can. Yes, you
Oh,
can, my
okay.
sister. Yes, you can. All righty then. So we're going to go ahead and get started and jump right on in. When Sister Shan and Sister Kaniswa Baptiste, Sister Jan, when they get their camera up and running, we're going to go ahead and give them an opportunity to go ahead and introduce themselves, and we're going to give them a question. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So I'm going to go ahead and get it started. And so one of the things that we're going to be talking about in this segment is 3 parts, right? The angry Black woman. We're going to be talking about career, education, and family, right? And we're going to be talking about tell your story. Tell your story. So we're going to start there, right? Let's start with the tell your story part. In the book, The Science and Art of Sex, right? It talks about tell your story up front. And first and foremost, tell it to yourself, right? So we're going to go ahead and swinging over to Sister Ari Ma'at from the UAE. What happens when you tell yourself the story and you find some discrepancies in the story you're telling yourself?
Well, yeah, I'm laughing because it's how truthful. The thing is, reality is you can only really you know your truth, isn't it? And it's degrees to be said. Can I dare say it's degrees of truth we like to secrete out, right? Depending on who you're talking to, first of all. But are we talking about what types of relationships?
We're going to let you do them all.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I can be considered a mature woman now. So the me, I would say 30 plus years ago, and the me now is very different. I think the me now, I'm very comfortable to tell my story. I don't have no inhibitions about it. Um, you either like it or you don't. It's really nothing to do with you in that respect. I feel confident in myself. But the me, say 30 years ago, it's like a facade you have. It's like you decide it's not a facade. It's on the social media you've got these little icons, little mojos that you kind of create of yourself. I don't know what their term they use, but you go in with your best foots. You create this image of yourself because you want to present yourself a certain way to this individual, but it may not necessarily be the true you. But sometimes it has a way of coming out in conversations, the real you. But then after a while, it's the person be looking at you is like, well, you're not the person that I thought you was, and the relationships can go pear shaped. So I just feel that you tell your truth, be upfront, tell your truth, tell it as it is, be comfortable in yourself. If the person cannot relate, if the person is not, it feels like, well, that energy, that synergy is not there, it's okay. Keep it moving, move forward, move on to something else.
So I was told you're married and you have a 20-something-year-old child. And I
Yeah,
love how you said who you are now. So as a married woman, talking to all our people out in the audience, how did you deal with when you told a fib, a lie, a mistruth to your husband? How did you work your way out of that?
You're digging deep now, right?
We said big girl panties, everybody. Big girl panties.
I think again, I think it's a type of relationship you have, and I've kind of taken a leaf from my mother and my grandmother. It depends on what types of conversations are going to cause arguments. It depends on if, because some truths, it's just like, the marriage is broken. That's it. There's no turning back. You can't come back from that. But then there's some truths that there's degrees of truth.
We're back at degrees of truth,
no,
y'all.
because some truths can really cause major arguments, and it's not necessarily necessary to have those arguments. So sometimes it's best to be silent, because you don't want to go there with this kind of truth, because it's not gonna help the situation. But then there's some truths you need to be upfront, especially when it comes to money matters, right? Be upfront with money matters, right? Because that can really destroy and break down a relationship. But then there's other, do we say little white truths, right? That you kind of keep to yourself, right? But, again, I think it's the type of relationship you have. My husband and I, we're quite open, and sometimes you have to put on the big girl panties to hear certain truths you may not want to hear, right? But again, I think as you get older, I think the me say 30 years ago will probably break down and crumble in pieces. But the me now pushing 50, going, well, not 50, going to 60, but mid-50s now, right? You see life very, very differently now, isn't it? And you can deal with certain truths that perhaps you wouldn't be able to deal with before. And that takes self-confidence. That's getting to know yourself. That's maturing in your relationship as well. And in that maturity, you are able to deal with a lot more situations. And that's the realness of it. And that's what I tell my daughter. We tell our daughter this as well. It's and that's going back to telling your story and being real about your story, being confident in yourself to tell that story as well.
What is it, if I may just add and ask, and this is not just to you, Sister Diana Powell, but I'd like to bring in Sister Mukunda Nafir and Sister Shaniqua Bethel. When it comes to those truths that we are very reluctant to address and approach, is it that it feels exposing? Is it that it feels like you are kind of just vulnerable and open? What is it that makes women, most women so, standoffish from even not just looking at those truths in front of other people, but even to yourself?
Well,
I'm gonna
Go ahead, sis.
okay, so I'm gonna go first. I'm an identical twin, right? And you guys would have seen my twin earlier. She's celebrating 29 years of marriage.
Yeah.
And I am the single twin, right? Yeah, I have children, but I am the single twin. And I could remember growing up as a young girl, I said that I didn't want a job. I wanted to be a housewife, and I wanted 10 children, right? Here I am, some years later. I have 3 beautiful daughters, and I'm a single parent. I co-parent with my last daughter. But when I look at certain situations that I went through, and when I look at my daughters, I sometimes, because in my household I do everything. So in my household I have to have the masculine and the feminine energy. I have to plan the budget. I have to fix the leak. I have to lift the water bottles. I make all the decisions, right? And when I look at my girls, right, for me, I look at them and I think that I may be doing them an injustice, because I've been single for so long, and I do not want them to think that that is the norm, right? Yet whilst they have positive relationships that they could see in their lives. I have sisters who are married, and could show them what a relationship should look like, right? So for me, that's something that I've battled with, and I've had to come to terms with, right? And so I entertain open discussions with my girls as relates to relationships and stuff like that. But that's one of the things that I've had to battle with, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
just being so straightforward.
Yes, if you don't mind, sis, I want to give Sister Makunda Nafir a chance to answer as well, and I just want to add a little bit more context to it, because I'm listening to what everybody is saying here today, and when we're at the Lady of Purpose, right? Christ Consciousness Conference, and we're talking about reclaiming ladyhood. A part of reclaiming ladyhood is to be able to approach those things and to face those things that we don't want to face, because we can't reclaim something that, the things we see, okay, but in order to reclaim it, we got to take back that part that we don't see. We have to take back the truth within the lie.
Yes.
And so when we're looking at those, little white lies and telling our story, and I totally agree with what Sister Diana Powell said. It's those little white lies that we're like, we're gonna slide that to the side, because we were taught that white is insignificant. It's not a big deal. It's white. It's no problems. Just a little white lie. But the white lie is really the big white lie. And it's not small, it's big. And that's why we don't want to approach it. That's why we don't want to, deal with it. Because, when we have tasks, right? Sometimes we have tasks set up for the day and we write this, what we got to do. We'll tackle the small things. We don't tackle the big things. And so that's how we kind of know that it's not small. That's how we know that it's big. And so how do we look at these big parts of our story that we're classifying, right, subconsciously and in defense of ourselves, that we're classifying as being small? How in reclaiming ladyhood do we approach those things head on, and now telling our truth? Because we have to be able to tell our truth in order to truly reclaim something that's not there. So how do we now approach those parts of our story that may be embarrassing, it may be unbecoming of us, it may be whatever word you want to affix to it, whatever it may be shameful, it may be whatever. How do we now approach those parts of ourselves and our story?
Whew, that's a mouthful. Okay. Right. I mean, for me, I had part of my journey was to do with abuse and trauma. So when I came into my relationship, I had to be able to explain and address certain parts of those traumas in order to be able to move forward healthily. Because I would have little moments where, as we said earlier in the last segment, it's somebody else's fault, but somebody said something and it's triggered something else, and it's caused a problem or a heated discussion and argument, so to speak. But had I had been able to talk to my partner about it, to address that situation within myself first, it would have helped for me to be able to work through what was going on, for me to be able to identify what was happening, to identify those triggers. Like we said earlier, you said earlier, Sister Azande, it's really important to know yourself and to be able to identify those little triggers, those little things. And yes, Sister Arimaat, there certainly is levels, and there are those little white lies that, look, if I don't say it, it's not quite a lie, right? But you do have to some degree, be able to talk to yourself about them. When I came into atonism, as a raver, as, these are the things that we was doing while we were out, but it helped me to be able to look at myself and to check myself. some of the studying that we've done, some of Shahrazad Ali, she tells you it the way it is. And when she said the black woman was out of control, and our teacher Basesh said, okay, there's going to be some responses. I know some people going to drop out this course. I'm not going to, I definitely had a reaction to it.
Yes.
But it really did help me to look at myself, to be able to address some of those traumas. I can't say I've done all of it, but I've definitely made huge progress with the studying that we've been doing, the classes that we've been having. My sisters have helped me tremendously. My partners helped me tremendously. With regards to when you said about being reluctant, is it shame? Yes, there's going to be things that you've done in your past that you are not proud of. It's going to be those things that, oh my gosh, I feel so exposed. But in being able to address that and share that with your partner, you no longer have to carry that weight of being exposed, of being shameful. To be able to tell your story means that nobody else has a say in it. You've owned that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I would say to that.
Yes, thank you so much. So we want to.
I'm going to go ahead and jump on in and introduce and ask our two wonderful sisters from Nassau, Bahamas, Sister Jan and Sister Shan, to go ahead and introduce themselves. And when we're finished, bam, bam, we're going to hit you with a question.
Welcome.
We can't hear you right now, sis. No, ma'am.
We cannot hear you. Do you want to bring in the next question? And as they're fixing it, they can just jump in on that question?
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. And I'm gonna bounce around to no, Sister Everybody. She can take it, y'all. She is a mother. She in the UIE. She can take this. She can take this. Some of the stories that we tell are part of the default system of living in societies where melanated people, men, women, and children, have historically been oppressed, right? Whether it's through colonization or through slavery. And part of the story that we have been told has negatively affected female relationships. You know, we often say, am I my sister's keeper? And yet sometimes that might look different, you know, in real life. And so you are also in the UAE via London, right? And I know that you often work with a lot of the sisters in the Tree of Eternal Life. How do you, when you facing the truth about the relationships we can have, how do you build sisterhood from where you are now, right? Knowing that there might be a little white girl within, and that little white girl might have certain feelings towards certain sisters, certain thoughts about certain sisters. How do you check that and at the same time build relationships that can really cultivate community?
Okay. It's quite interesting you're asking this question. I had a conversation similar to this morning. And it's about how do we define sisterhood? Because I think to be able to answer that question, we need to be able to define it. Cleonora Hudson, we spoke about Africana womanism, and she clearly defined what the sisterhood is. The sisterhood is. I'm hearing an echo here. Sorry. And you go back to what you're saying about being your sister's keeper, but there needs to be a foundation. And as you said, there needs to be that default position. For us, our default position is atonism, our prescribed way of life. It defines what it is in terms of how we have, whether it's a sisterhood relationship or relationships in general. That should be that platform where all the relationships evolve and are nurtured. So when we're speaking about sisterhood, the conversation I had this morning was not everybody defines it the same way. And I think that's where the conflict comes into, where I think previously in the last conversation we spoke about defining our parameters. How do we nurture? And I think going back to even what you just said earlier on about being honest, and I think I think that's important to have those conversations as a sister. In my family, I value family a great deal. And when I speak about sisterhood, you're supposed to have my back. I'm supposed to have your back. I'm supposed to be able to say to you, look, whether you like it or not, I should be able to say to you, my sister, this is what it is, or I'm feeling this way. But if there is a reason why you cannot say what you feel, or the person feels that you cannot come into that space and relay that to her, then there's something going on. There's something going wrong. And I think one of the major things here is communication. We need to be able to communicate and be, those truthful conversations, but on the basis of our way of life. That is our foundation. That is our default. So I think one of the things in terms of working with the sisters in the True Eternal Life store, I'm 100,000 miles away. Yeah. So for me, it's going to be more of a social media, whether it's through WhatsApp, whether we have meetings once a week, we have study meetings. And I think, especially with the studying, I think when you study with somebody, you're kind of giving yourself over as well in that conversation or in that reasoning. And it's a two-way relationship. And I think that in itself also brings sisters, if we're talking about sisterhoods, together. But I think communication is important. I think that being honest and upfront is important. I think working together as well, because even when you work together, there is that team spirit. You're working for a common goal. You're working for a common purpose. And even in that common purpose and that common goal, that in itself is a glue that should gel you together. If it isn't gelling you together, then there's something wrong. But can you be upfront and have a discussion, even if you feel that I'm not ready for it? If you can have that discussion, an honest discussion to break that down, then you know what? A beautiful relationship can mature from there.
Real quick before we go ahead and pass it, let me ask you a quick question because you mentioned that honesty. And I know a lot of times an honest personality, and becoming honest, right? Through the development of your mind, right? Through the development of your soul, through the development of the physical, it takes time. Have you utilized any tools? Are there any things in your way of life? Because you keep mentioning, it has to be based on things. Have you utilized like the Thuma stones? What have you utilized to help you develop honesty and also to help you communicate better with sisters?
Okay. I think earlier on we spoke about, living your truth, being truthful to yourself. Yeah. One of the things that I've used, or one of the tools, and I think yourself, Dr. Ford, you speak about this all the time, is journaling. I've been journaling for the last, say, 3 years. And it's funny, again, I was looking at I have 2 journals now. That's how much writing I used to do. That's how much journaling, right? And I recently looked back over the last three years, I'd say. And you actually see your development. when you're in that moment of journaling, I mean, I like to journal the first thing in the morning, and I reflect back in the evening to see, how I've, what the day has been like, and how things have just developed in general through the day. But when you start to journal and look back over the years, you see you have changed a great deal. If you're honest about it, whether it's a positive or a negative, you see you see your triggers, you see your patterns of behavior. And earlier on, we spoke about hormones. You see what your triggers are, because sometimes in the moment you don't see that. But when you journal, and I say to any of the sisters and brothers here, journal. It's the conscious counselors, Dr. Ford. I know you love journaling, but it is actually therapeutic as well, because hormones triggers are real. And sometimes you get up in the morning and you're all tearful. And it's like, why am I feeling this way? Because the night before you ate junk, right? Right. Or you did something that is that's your hormones are just out of whack. And as a mature woman, as a mature lady, where we're going through all sort of hormone changes as well, right? And so even with that, it's thrown you out of whack. So one of the tools I would say is to journal.
Any scriptural
Another
tools?
tool, put it this way. Also, we have a sisterhood, and I remembered in our sisterhood, you gave us a tool, yes, and I've kept this tool to this very day. And in that tool, it categorizes these things that you should do today, including journaling, including scriptural verses. For us, we read our original books of the Bible, book 10, the book of Ma'at. Every single morning, I open up to the book of Ma'at. I don't pinpoint. I just draw myself to a particular verse. I hold that verse for the day, and I reflect on that verse for the day. Yes. So it's the journaling, it's the scriptural readings. For us, in the first thing in the morning, well, 3 times a day. I'm in the UAE. Yeah. So in the morning, I'm in London. In the mid-afternoon, I'm in Bahamas, and in the evening, back in London again. So these are the things that keeps us focused, but keeps us not drifting. But again, I include all of this in my journaling, how I felt through the day. And sometimes a conversation just may trigger you to, I don't know, go crazy. But those are the tools that keeps me focused. But also a number one tool you added, I need to talk to my sisters.
Sisters, yes. Now, while we're there, because I love that point, right? Talking to your sisters. So I want to ask you all a question. And this is just us being real and being honest with each other. Because a part of this segment, one of the bullet points is the angry Black woman. And it's not just angry towards men, it's angry, period. You're angry towards your sisters. You're angry towards, whatever it is that's outside of your stuff. You're just mad. So when it comes to sisterhood and that anger, how do we look? How do we make each other comfortable enough to see the weaknesses and strengths and use those weaknesses and strengths to help bring us closer together? Because I may have a weakness that Dr. Ford mastered, and she may have a weakness that I've mastered. But if I don't want my weaknesses to be revealed, how can she help me, and how can I help her? So a lot of times in sisterhood as ladies, I personally feel that we don't feel comfortable enough to expose those weaknesses to each other, right? And that because we want to be the best and seem like we got it together. When in all actuality, everybody may be shedding a tear at night, or somebody may be feeling insecure, or everybody has an insecurity or has something with themselves that they're not happy with. So nobody is any better than the other. But my question is, right? How can we make each other comfortable enough in telling our story and looking at the angry Black woman to expose the weaknesses and strengths, to use them to become a true sisterhood. If not, then it's all fluff. How can we begin to do that? And then we can pass it around if that's okay. Sister Shan, are you there? Oh man. Do you have your phone? I'm just going to suggest, if you have your phone, can we get your audio from your phone if possible? So we'll let her grab that and we'll move over to Sister Shaniqua Bethel, Sister Makunda. We'll go back around until they're ready.
Okay. This topic that we're talking about, sisterhood, is something that's dear to me. And I've spoken to Dr. Ford about this offline. And I come from a very big family. Paula and Hubert had over 14 children. And they gave me 5 sisters, right? So with us, people would probably think we crazy, right? But we row, and in the same breath, we borrowing money and we asking you to babysit. That is sisterhood. That's the sisterhood I grew up with, right? And then afterwards, you're apologizing and you're trying to level the playing field after the bad feelings and the bad words came out, right? And I think that sisterhood should look similar to that with us here, the sisterhood of the Holy Cryptic Church. It should look similar. It shouldn't, we shouldn't go, even if we have instances where we may have been mean to each other or feel some sort of way because you did something, but I didn't tell you you do something. So we ain't gonna talk about it, right? So it should look similar to the sisterhood that I have with my crazy sisters that I love at home, right? And when we look at the angry Black woman, right? I think the angry Black woman is misunderstood. I think the Black woman has a lot to be angry about. But I also think that it could be, her anger could be misunderstood. Because I think that her anger has some magic to it. It's in the way we express ourselves that people may think that we're being angry or mad, but we're being passionate. And it's that's our magic, the way we're trying to express ourselves. So with that, I think we also have to be mindful of the type of sisters we have also, because all sisters, you have to, my baby sister, I have to treat with kid gloves because I think she needs medication. But anyway, so with my baby sister, she expresses more of that magical anger, right? But when I come to her a certain way, I get a different reaction. So I think in our sisterhood, we have to meet each other where we are, and then we have to embrace each other for who we are also, and give that level of respect.
Yes. Thank you. Sister Makunda or Sister Shan, I don't know if you've gotten your sound together. And I want to add to that also, if we have anything that you've read from your way of life that has also added to or changed what you felt sisterhood should be, in the process of answering the first question. So I hope I'm not loading you up too much, but I know that sometimes we had misconceptions of sisterhood and they may have been changed, or you may see things a little differently. So if you can add that also to your answer, Sister Makunda or Sister Shanna, Sister Jennifer Thurston.
Go ahead and jump in, Sister Makunda.
Okay. Sisterhood is definitely something that was new to me. I didn't have sisters, so I didn't grow up like that. It was just me and my brother. And so this is something I've had to adjust to. Having said that, I've had some fantastic sisters who have been able to talk to me when I needed talking to. And as much as it was a challenge to hear, I, you know, being my older sisters, was able to give them the respect where it was due and listen. I was always taught to respect my elders, and so in that sense, you know, that sense of family is still there. And so for me, when my big sister comes to me and says, look, you are acting a fool, come on, let's talk about this, there's something wrong, let's talk about it. And you know, and that has helped me to be able to address some of the issues that I've had, whether it be with that sister or just having a bad day. Those sorts of things have really, really helped. Also, the scriptures, being reading the original books of the Bible. The books of Ma'at has already been mentioned and talked about, but reading the books, the book of Ma'at, helps you to remember how we conduct ourselves, and how to be mindful of how we're addressing each other. We have the etiquette of nobility, and that one was great in a sense that not only did it help me to address the way in which you know, we communicate or we see each other, but also how best to conduct oneself. And sometimes you're not aware of that. Sometimes you're not even aware of some of the behaviors that you're displaying, or, you know, some of the things that you might say out of turn that could be taken a certain way. And it always goes back for me, back to Neely Fuller, where he says, just be mindful that none of this is our fault. You might be angry, but it's the fault of white supremacy as to the reason why we are finding ourselves in the condition that we're in, not word for word, you know, just briefly giving an overview of what he says. And so that for me is a reminder that actually you're not a bad sister, you're not a bad brother. We just need to learn how to understand each other.
You said etiquette to nobility. Who's that prescribed by? And then Dr. Ford, take it away. I just want to make sure those online understand, because we just throw, I know the book that you're talking about, but someone listening in may not know. So who prescribed it? Who, you know, who is, go ahead, please.
So this one was written by Abba Sesh, Dr. A.J. Varma.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ford.
If I would jump in, and you just made a good point, and I know I'm supposed to be the moderator. I'm not speaking right now, but I'm gonna jump in. One of the things that Sister Shaniqua Bethel mentioned about the anger. I need people in this room to get angry. I really do. I really do. Dr. Antoinette Bailey, she committed suicide here. She was in higher education. She worked at a university for 20 years. She lived and worked in a toxic, contentious environment. And I know we say, yeah, it's due to racism, white supremacy, but we co-creators in the fact that we're not doing what we need to do to change the environment and to create what we need. I saw a video on YouTube or something the other day, and it was a little black boy. How old is your son, Sister Makunda?
I have two. So the youngest is 15, though, if it's only the young one.
So he was younger than that. He had to be maybe between 13, maybe. And this little black boy had black British, had his uniform on, and some white teenage adult males targeted him, bullied him, chased him down, was like, we're gonna beat you up, made him kiss their boots. No one's upset about that. So I need women, mothers, to start having some type of righteous indignation to at least protect our children, to at least protect our men. We get real mad when the black men don't have money to give us. We won't let them see their children. Now we mad. And we have been young at points in time where we had that sharp tongue, where we had that attitude, and we're quick to turn it on one another. And I'm saying, how do we weaponize? This is the question. How do we weaponize that anger towards our liberation on all levels of Well-Said-Web? Sister Nala.
How do we weaponize our anger? Like I said, I think that to a certain extent that anger is magical, and the way Black women are very creative when they're angry in the way that they talk and express themselves and the way that they think. To a certain extent, that anger could drive them to act in a certain way that gets a point across. Let's say, for example, my eldest is autistic, right? And when I found out that she was autistic, we had no services here in the Bahamas. We barely have it still, right? And when she was, so the government gave us a classroom in one of the schools, and they were getting, and then they came back and they were starting to take the classroom back from the autistic parents. And you know what we did?
What did you do?
We called the press. The parents got together, we rallied around, and we went up there to that school, and we tell them not a day like it. Right? So that was our anger for getting things done, for protecting our children, for getting rights for our children. And we as Black women, we have to make that anger, like I said, magical to get things done. And that's an example of how we do it.
So I'm going to go ahead. Sister Shan, Sister Jan, are we still? We're working on it. Okay. Sister, am I think she's one of the sisters that I mentioned was Sister Antoinette, right? Bailey. Sister Claudine Gay. She was the African American president at Harvard University, had the shortest tenure, right? She spoke about just how, the issues with the Israeli war, but she also was experiencing, once again, in this environment, just this level of toxicity and racism. So as a woman, you have been educated, and you also have a daughter, right, who's now in her 20s, and you look around the world. How do you utilize your anger, your anger, to help her find a husband?
Yeah. It's I thought you was going to ask me another question, but you're going to ask me that question.
What? No, yeah, Muslim.
But the thing is, sorry, I can hear the echo.
That is Sister Shan. By the way, we can hear you, but you do have an echo. So that sound was coming through. So as soon as she's done, you guys can jump in
Okay.
if we can get that echo out of here. Okay. Okay.
Okay. And before I answer that question, I just want to say yes, I totally agree that we spend too much time on the little niggy on irrelevant conversations we have, and that's taking up too much energy. Where we now need to really start thinking about the world that we live in, and that energy, that lower level frequency, we now have to start push that into something that is going towards our liberation. Yeah, and I totally agree with that 100%. So I thought you was going to ask me a question about education and liberation, Dr. Ford. but when I speak to my daughter, and it goes back to speaking our truth, yeah, from a very young age, from where she could understand, from when she starts to question myself and her father, we're quite upfront. We're very quiet, because at the end of the day, I prefer her to ask us questions than to go outside and get the answers from others that is not part of our way of life, because that's when things start to get messy. Yeah, that's where their idea of the world starts to get warped, because this is something that we actually went through when our daughter started to go to secondary school. School in the UK is from 11 to 18. Then we had to grapple to make sure that she was anchored in our way of life, and to be able to anchor that, what we had to surround her with has to be stronger, to pull her in stronger than the world at large. And we couldn't do that we couldn't do that by ourselves. We had to do that within a community, because she will go to other places, she'll meet other people, but we need to be of one accord. So when we speak to her, it's we speak our reality. We speak about our journey as a young person, because as my mom said, we never just grow up. I didn't just step out the womb at the age of 50. Right?
Ow.
Right? We ourselves, we had our journey, and we had to navigate this system. And sometimes it's you feel a bit embarrassed about it, but at the end of the day, we preferred her to hear it from us than to hear a warped version of the world. So we was angry enough to take that time with her. And sometimes, when they reach a certain age, when they're in their teenage years, they're grappling with you. They want to all the mouth and everything, right? But that's the growing pains, and the life of living in the world as well. And so we had to sit her down. And as a mother, about relationships, I had to share some stories with her, and she was like, "Really?" That's like, yeah, but she had to be matured enough to handle those conversations. And sometimes we think our children are not immature enough for these conversations. You'd be surprised what they're talking about at school. Right? Yeah. So, and it's through those conversations, and I'm on the phone with my daughter sometimes 3 times a day. Right? Just 3 times a day. We're just talking, and I think for her, she feels confident enough to say what she feels, not just to me, to her father as well. Right? Because he gives the male version, I give the female version. Yeah. And sometimes we come together and we talk about life. And sometimes it's hard hitting, but sometimes we put a bit of humor in it, but it's real. It's real. The world out there as a young Black melanated female is hard. Educated. And it's hard.
Who's educated?
Yeah. And educated. It's harsh. It's harsh for them. And again, what we keep saying here, we anchor ourselves in this way of life. Yeah, this way of life was prescribed to us. Our Basesh, we have how many classes a week, and every session I'm learning something different. every session we're on the phone in the evening or in the
Yes.
day. We're talking about what we what we learned and how we could implement that, and even things as well, I don't know if I can do that right now, but but you have to have those real conversations. You know why? Because at the end of the day, she's going to navigate that world without us at some point in her life's journey, and we want to make sure that she has enough in her to be able to, for example, as a young man, to see the red flags, yeah, be able to answer those questions and to find the answers that she needs. But for a young Black woman, educated Black woman, this world is hard. And so we have to be hard with her to tell her the realities of this world, like it or not.
I love this quote that's on the screen. We're just going to read it really quickly on our way to asking, I guess, one of the last questions in this segment. Give your daughters difficult names. Give your daughters names that command the full use of your tongue. My name makes you want to tell me the truth. My name doesn't allow me to trust. If we can move the screen up. Trust anyone who can't pronounce it. So yes, that's a very, very profound statement. And in that, right, in living up to a name, the question is, how do we, in our achievements in education, stand proud of those achievements, be it your doctorate degree, whatever it is that you have achieved, right? How do we stand proud in that, but at the same time teach ladyhood in a way where that achievement doesn't define your ladyhood in the household, in the family, where a lot of times men have complained that once women kind of receive these high achievements, now it has lessened their receptivity, their need for the Black man in this world. So how do we, yes, we need the education because we need to be able to be a part of the nation building, right, process. We need to have some type of role we can contribute and play. So we never want to downgrade how important education is. But within that, we do want to bring to the table and forefront today, how can we explain ladyhood in a way where it's a part of it, but it doesn't define ladyhood and how we treat and deal with our men and our children and the Black family, because when you leave that job, you come home to a family. You don't leave, you oversee, and that's where you lay your head at night. And that's what holds the most importance, because the career that we choose, let's say it gave us a great job, that job can fire us tomorrow. But we can't be fired as mom and as wife, and as you have to play that role. So how can we address that, please? I hope that question is clear. If it's not, let me know. And I'll pass it to Sister Shandell Williams and Sister Jennifer Thurston. You have to unmute, please.
Namaste, can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, finally. Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, we're looking at the other aspects of ladyhood and how education is important, but how it doesn't define our roles as wives and as mothers and every other aspect of ladyhood that we need in reclaiming ladyhood and in building the family and and gluing our family back together.
Okay, with regard to, I've never had a child, but I have a lot of nieces and nephews. Education that should enhance
Sister Shan, unfortunately, you froze, and I pray you come back. We really want to hear what you have to say. I pray you come back in before we leave this segment, please.
Not help, but enhance your relationships.
Okay.
Help you with your husband And if it doesn't, then you need to take a look at the type of education that you have or what.
Okay, Sister Shan, she'll come back in. She's in Bahamas, by the way, and they've done everything they can, but obviously we know that it's a lot of technical difficulties when it comes to the internet, and that's why we say we always have a backup with virtual. So she'll be back in. And Sister Mukunda, do you want to address that as well?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind repeating the question, sorry.
Yes, no problem. So we're looking at ladyhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the key roles? What are some of the characteristics, behaviors that define ladyhood, aside from our achievements and our careers, that allows you to stay close and to help propel the Black family, the Black family unit, as in child, as in wife, without it being a crutch to your need for the Black man in stagnating the family?
Okay. I would say that being a traditional, let me start again.
No, take your time.
Holding on to our culture. These days, a lot of women who are studying, who are career minded, are that way and have tunnel vision in that sense. They will do anything necessary to ensure that, we have this and we're building towards it. But then you have the other side of it where you have the family, you have your husband, you have your children. You want to be home and make sure they have a cooked meal. You don't want to let your achievement move your values from the family unit, from that unity, from the essence of community and being able to move forward together. And I think just being able to hold on to that really helps to keep you grounded. I think for us as atonists, we have our scriptures. And again, that's something that as a whole, as a unit, that we utilize together. And that way we are working towards something together. So what's your goal? It's great to be the best doctor, to be the best surgeon, to be, the best accountant. But what are you going to do with it once you're there? So now if you all together as a unit, you have the goal of working together and to raise your family. See, you might go and get this degree, and in getting this degree, it raises the finances in the household, and that allows your husband to maybe do his own venture. Maybe it allows you to open a business, and now you're growing your finances together. So I think one of the things that's important is to make sure we're holding on to our culture, and we're not influenced by the independent Black woman or, that kind of energy, and just being able to move together as a unit and having those goals to work towards.
Yes. And certainly, I love that answer. And certainly we must see a need, for the family and for the Black man. What, Sister Erima, what is the need, right? Because sometimes, as I stated before, we get our education and now we don't need the Black man as much as we did when we didn't have the education. So can you please, for all the young women watching, and not just young women, everyone that feels like that education will kind of give them a level up on that structure, that family structure. What is the need for the Black man aside from finances? What are those needs that he provides us?
It's interesting you're saying that. Because it was quite interesting because even though I have a master's level qualification, that was never my intention, to be honest. But because that there was a need for that type of skill set to be able to set up a school within our kanisa, within our church, that was the necessity and that was the need. And that came from within the family. That wasn't just a choice I made. That was my purpose and that was my mission.
Mm-hmm.
So when we speak, we're speaking about the need from what he needs from us, or what do I need from him? Is that the question?
What do you need from him? What do we need from the Black man? Aside
What
from
we
finances?
okay,
Mm-hmm.
we need somebody to be there to reassure us that you're on the right path. Because sometimes, these career-minded or educated, you think that you don't need that element. Sometimes you come home and you just want to take off your suit, just drop the bags, and you just want to sit down and you just want to talk, just to talk through that day. Because you spoke earlier on, did you say code switching? Is it code switching you spoke about?
Yes,
you got that all you got that all going on in the workplace. You don't want that when you go home. You just want to you just want to be you. You just want to be comfortable. You just want to strip yourself down. And this is me. I can relax. And you need somebody there to help you to do that, to bounce, to recalibrate you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You need a friend. You need somebody there that, is that critical friend that says, you know what, put up your panties, big girl pants. Come on. You sometimes there's things that they will tell you that nobody else will tell you, but they will set you straight. Yeah, you need some of that as well.
Yeah.
You sometimes need a shoulder to cry on.
Mm.
Sometimes you need that side as well. And someone that's non-judgmental.
Mm.
Sometimes they don't even have to say a word. You just cry, you just say, whatever it is. And they're just looking at you like you finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're ready now. Can we move forward now? So, that's what, so it's much more than, defining ourselves via a career. No. And a lot of women, ladies that I know of my age, they miss that in being single.
Mm.
They miss that element. They miss, and yes, of course, you have your sisters, and they have a role to play in your relationship. But when you have somebody in your life that you can be yourself, but can be a rock, that can be an anchor, that can help you to straighten yourself out, to pull you up when you are down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, sisters, nothing can beat that. Right? So if you feel that you want to be on your own, well, that's your thing, yeah. But you know what? There are brothers out there, some brothers out there that can really bring value, that can be there for you as sisters. But some of you sisters, you see some good brothers, you're not interested in those brothers out there. And there's some good brothers. Give them a chance. Let's give them a chance. Sisters, give the brothers a chance.
Thank you. Dr. Ford, work with me on this. We're going to double team y'all for the last question of the segment because I know we have to move on to the last segment. So we're going to double team real quick. I'm keeping the same question. Mm-hmm. I love Sister Diana Powell's answer because we indeed, yes, that we do need that support. Now, I want to add a layer to the same question that I asked. It's going to be another layer. And I'm only going to call this a hard question because the answers that I often hear, right? Or even may have gave myself. I watched a video not too long ago, and this guy, he went up to this couple. It was these are old, like this couple had to be in their 80s, right? It was an older white man and white woman. And he said to the woman, why, oh, you guys have been together, how long you been together? They said, oh, we've been together X amount of years. And he said, well, why do you love him? He asked that to the lady. And he asked the man, why do you love her? And I noticed in the answer, the man gave an answer of why he loved her for her. And in her answer, she said why she loved the man that helped whatever. It led back to her. She didn't just say, I love this about him. She said, I love what he does for me, right? That was the answer. And so I find now that I'm observing that a lot of times we love what the man does for us. And he may love something just about you. She's brilliant. She's this. I love that he makes me feel brilliant, that he tells me I'm brilliant, right? Which is great. We need both. What do we need or love? Let's just keep the same question. Need from the Black man that he provides that has nothing to do with reassuring us of who we are. What just quality? What qualities does he have? I don't know if that makes it. Dr. Ford, does that make any sense?
It makes sense.
Can you help me out?
She like give an answer that don't include you.
That's what I'm asking as a layer. Sister Irma, as she answered my question, but now I'm adding another layer to the question. Anybody can take it.
Sister McCunda, you the first one up.
Sister Shaniqua Bethel, she hasn't spoken, or Sister Shan.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump down to Sister Shan, Sister Nala, then Sister McCunda. You're gonna come up in the rear. I'm gonna change your question, though. I'm letting you know, Sister McCunda.
All right. I would say that the man brings balance to the relationship, to the home, right? So to me, like I had mentioned earlier, that I'm a mother of girls, right? And my girls need that balance. My concern is, and still is, and I'm putting things into place to help with this balance that they need, because they just don't need that feminine balance. They need that masculine balance to make them whole, right? I'm reminded of there's a story about the baby elephant, right? When he gets at a certain point in his age, he starts to act out, right? He starts to act out. And so what the mommy would do is she would just take him and she push him in the herd of the male elephants, and they get him together. When he go, of course, they say, no, you stay here. Come on, right? The man brings that. And that's what is needed. That's my answer.
She said, that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it.
Sister Shan, do you have audio? Thank you so much.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Lila Nere. A different perspective. We get emotional, women, especially when it's a situation and we're, and he can just cut through, regardless of what it is, and get right to the point. He is unemotional with it. He's direct. He's logical. Sometimes we're not very logical. And he brings that. For me, that is one of the best qualities. The different perspective.
Thank you. Tag team, you're Dr. Ford.
What?
Okay, Sister McCunda. You're raising some Black men, right? And part of raising Black men is telling the truth about women, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yes. And even though we didn't do a deep dive, but there are some ugly parts to us, right? There are some parts where we lie. There's some parts where we connive. There's some parts where we look through text messages. There's some parts where we feel jealous. There's some parts. As a mother, sometimes the messages that we give our daughters might differ from the way that we deliver them to our son. How and what are you telling your son to prepare him for the ugly side of women? and how to get a lady?
Okay. My youngest son is 15. My oldest son, he's now old enough and making his own mind up. But nevertheless, with both of them, it's just about being very honest. The conversation differs slightly because my oldest son, he's past that age of trial and error, and he's got a good vision of what he would like in a female. And whereas my youngest one, just he's just at that age where females, right? So okay, so with my youngest son, I'll start with him. I'm just straight with him, and the conversations that I may not have had with my oldest son because I was a bit younger, I now have with my youngest son. I talk to him about attitudes. I talk to him. I let him talk to me and tell me about his day. Who does he come across? He might say, he might mention a sister's name or a young lady's name more than once. I say, is pricked. Okay, tell me about this young, this person. And, he'll talk to me about her. And slowly, he might come back and say, you know what? I saw this about this young lady. I'm not sure that I like that. I said, okay, what do you see that as? Well, maybe she was just having a bad day. I said, okay, that's right. And maybe you're making excuses. Maybe that's a red flag. Maybe that's something that you need to be aware of in females because it's triggered you to feel a certain way. So you clearly don't like that.
Let me jump in real quick. When do we get to a place, and I'm asking because Sister Nala just mentioned the elephant and being pushed to the bull. When do we move when we realize that we might be coddling our son and that a male presence is needed? When do you know that time, since you've had two boys? When was that time? Have you had that time where you had to say, look, this is a boy and I'm not a boy and I need a man to talk to make him a man?
Absolutely. The moment he's hit his teens and he became, I want to say challenging as a young man, he had a voice back, and it was necessary for some male presence to step in at that point. He had his dad, he had his older brother has really, really helped. Having the uncles around him, it was at that time where you need to go speak to your uncle. You're gonna go spend the day with your dad. Go spend the day with your brother. It's now time. And so having that really held him and still does, as well as me being able to say, I may have a day where I'm not having a great day, and I have to be able to say to him, you know what, I was having a really terrible day. I probably shouldn't have spoken to you the way I did, right? But so I'm apologizing for that, and I want you to understand that that's not how we treat each other, and that's why we're having this conversation, so that he understands that he's not just going to be treated a certain way. He doesn't have to accept that sort of treatment. But little boy, understand, I'm still mommy, right? So there's lots of conversations, just being really real with him, even to the point where I tell some of my stories to him. And as a young man, he's like, oh my, la 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 la. But better he hear it from me and some of the ways that I thought as a young female, so that he can now see and be prepared for what might be coming his way.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I know we are nearing the end of this, or we're at the end of this segment. I know we went well over. So we want to thank everyone for joining. And Sister Shan, I know you'll be back on to give us, some of your wisdom. And we'll be going out and we'll be right back with the last segment for today. Thank you all for tuning in. And if you're still watching, please send this link out to your family and friends as we're ending the segment. This is the Ladies of Purpose Christ Consciousness Conference, Reclaiming Ladyhood, Rise of the Divine Feminine.
Let's say you do all those things and check off all those Proverbs 31 boxes, but you're mean, selfish, and greedy. Would it matter that you only looked like the Proverbs 31 woman? Anyone who puts in the effort can fake a Proverbs 31 life and put on a godly veneer. But God is looking more from his daughters. In 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7, God says, "For the Lord sees not as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." Anyone can put on a Proverbs 31 mask, but acting like a Proverbs 31 woman and being a Proverbs 31 woman are two totally different things.
What's social media doing?
I feel like it could do both. It depends on how you use it. Like I'm a media personality, so I stay on social media a lot. But sometimes I have to catch myself because what we start doing is comparing. I just turned 32 this year. I don't have children yet. I'm not married yet. And I know I'm not ready for it yet. So sometimes, you can get caught up if you see all these different pictures and, our first home, we're expecting, you can get caught in your feelings.
Beauty isn't found at a cosmetics counter. Beauty isn't found in a dress or in a hairstyle even. Worldly beauty is, however. The Amplified Translation for 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 3-4 says, "Your adornment must not be merely external, with interweaving and elaborate knotting of the hair, and wearing gold jewelry or being superficially preoccupied with dressing in expensive clothes. But let it be the inner beauty of the hidden person of the heart, with the imperishable quality and unfading charm of a gentle and peaceful spirit, one that is calm and self-controlled, not over-anxious, but serene and spiritually mature, which is very precious in the sight of God."
Black women and girls are the last one considered when it comes to anything in the health, wellness, and medical space. And that means that we have a lot of products that do contain harmful chemicals, and they contain those harmful chemicals at a larger percentage just in our products.
Hannah McCall, Executive Director of Clean Beauty for Black Girls, created the nonprofit to prioritize Black women's health.
A study in 2019 found that African American women were 80% more likely to feel they had to change their natural hairstyle to fit in at work.
Many people spend a lot of time and money on their professional appearance. On top of all the other things, Black women have this added layer of worrying about whether or not their hair blends in with what white society deems acceptable, whether or not we need to straighten our hair to be appropriate for work, or whether we can wear braids, or whether we can wear our hair in our natural.
The Summer Olympics were happening in Seoul, South Korea. And during the games, a track star named Florence Griffith Joyner, they called her FloJo, became a household name. That's because FloJo not only won 3 gold medals, but she set the record as the world's fastest woman. She rocked a custom red, white, blue, and gold jeweled acrylic set of nails. Dr. Lindsay Piper, author of the paper Star Spangled Fingernails, Florence Griffith Joyner and the Mediation of Black Femininity. That was a mouthful. She had something interesting to say about all of this. Lindsay said, quote, because Florence preferred long, colorful nails, the runner was depicted as abnormal, deviant, and different, end quote. Yeah, all over patriotic nails. It's like, hey, you guys, remember that record she just broke? The joke's on them though, because thanks to icons like FloJo, nail culture, it doesn't fade away. I think it actually does the opposite. With the rise of music videos and hip hop culture, nails go in a whole ass different direction. Musicians like Missy Elliott, Lil' Kim, and even one of my favorites, Shan Jackson, all start coming out with their own nail designs. They would have like bling and piercings on their nails. It was just like mind-blowing, iconic. But this is something that involves you, the customer, the client, the wearer of nail polishes on thy nail. Listen, all those nail salon products that they're using on your beautiful little fingers, they are not regulated at the federal or state level. I didn't know that. And I was like, what? They're not. Meaning like these products were never authorized to be used in salons on humans.
Bo Talley is the astonishing wife of WNBA professional coach Fred Williams. Not only is she a devoted mother to 5 children and a radiant grandmother at the age of 77, but she also possesses an uncanny ability to defy time itself. One glance at Bo strolling down the street and you'd swear you're looking at a woman in her 20s, her youthful appearance and vibrant energy shining through.
You, the mom with the children, the mom that works, the mom that can't get out the house, the mom that don't like to go to the gym, the mom that stays home and work like me. I am you guys. So I do little stay-at-home mom tips for those moms who are trying to stay fit, most importantly, healthy and sexy, if that's what you're trying to do, and keep the body toned. I personally don't have time to go to the gym, and I personally don't like to go to the gym because I want to work out. I don't want to be harassed. At the end of the day, you ladies know what I'm talking about.
We're talking about the original design and intent of African woman is this, because I let you know that this is my theory. I coined it, the term, and I defined it, and you either fit it or you don't. Okay? I'm not and don't care to be. I love exactly who I am. And if you love yourself, you're going to deal with that which is real to you, that which is urgent to you and your family, that which is necessary to be handled first and foremost before you have time to spend on somebody else's movement. Our movement is ongoing. We don't have time for vacation away from freeing ourselves. There's some Black people want to come back when they fail. Well, that didn't work. Well, let's see what else we can do. Maybe we can do this now. Maybe that mainstream thing wasn't really for us. Well, you already should have known it wasn't for you. You weren't at the table when it was designed. And why you think that you were a part of it? You obviously were not. So you need to stick to your agenda, your needs, your concerns. And at some point when we reach, all of us reach that, then we can spread out and say, let's just deal with whatever, because we're all on the same page and we're on the same level. We haven't reached that yet.
Yeah. Oh, you Proverbs 31 with it, huh? I see. Oh, you Proverbs.
Welcome back to Ladies of Purpose, Christ Consciousness Conference. This is the Rise of the Divine Feminine, Reclaiming Ladyhood. We're about to enter the third and final segment for this evening. This segment is a very dear segment to so many. how social media and Black spaces affect the norm, Beauty and the Beast, and the age of beauty and activity, the real course of hair, skin, and nails, a woman's choice, diet, and exercise. We're going to go ahead and bring in the At this time, we'd like to go ahead and bring Sister Leah Gums and Sister Natasha Bryant, all the way from the United Kingdom. If Sister Natasha, if you're here, Natasha Blake, I said Brian, I do apologize. Sister Natasha Blake and Sister Leah Gums, if you can open up your microphones and tell us a little bit about yourselves. And then at the same time, I'll go ahead and bring up on the screen right now Dr. Nicole Ford, Dr. Shirlene Chase, Sister Minivizir Advisor, Aminette Hika, also known as Sister Tisha Inius, or Fritz Inius. I want to go ahead and make sure they're up on the screen, and I think we have everybody in there that we're supposed to have at this time. Sister Leah, if you can get us started, if you can open up your microphone, and then Sister Natasha, you can follow up.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
My name is Leah Gums. I'm a mother of two. I'm married for 16 years. I'm also pursuing at this point in time, presently, agriculture in UPT, University of the West Indies, and Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm very happy to be here today to join you all in this discussion.
Namaste. Namaste, family. I'm so happy to be here tonight to join you on this ladies' conference. My name is Natasha Blake. I'm a mother of 5, and I worked previously in accounting, and I use that skill and knowledge now to support my husband, Brian Blake, in his business. I also work as a teaching assistant with 3 to 11-year-old children in primary school. That's my current job. Namaste. Sorry, did you hear? I'm not sure.
Yes, we can hear you very well. Yeah, you all have to open up your microphones if you don't mind, Sister Aminette, Dr. Chase, Dr. Ford. Dr. Ford, you've already been in the segment preceding this. Sister Dr. Chase, Shirlene Chase, if you can tell us, Shirlene Chase Gums, if you can tell us a lot more about yourself. And Sister Aminette, if you don't mind.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Greetings from the sunny, beautiful, warm island of Trinidad. All right, so I am Shirlene Onika Gums, maiden name Chase.
Dr. Chase, your microphone is closed. You went out, you came back in, please. Dr. Chase, may you please turn on your microphone?
Yes, Basash. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So all those letters behind my name, that's who I am academically. I am a birth mother of 2 and an active mother of 89. Yes, 89. Currently, I have a son at university. Well, we have a son at university. He's pursuing electronic and electrical engineering, BA in chemistry, BSc in corporate management, master's in public health administration, master's in public dental health, doctor of dental surgery. Officially, I'm the secretary of Cooptech Technologies, and our current projects include education and STEAM, where we work with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, one of the ministries, where we assist children and younger persons in projects dealing with robotics and STEAM learning. We do have some other projects concerning university and young people learning in the pipelines. So it's an exciting, exciting journey.
Namastu. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Great. Namastu, everyone. Peace and blessing. My name is Aminette Tika, also called Tisha Fritz. I am a wife, a mother of 5. I am a holistic wellness coach and holistic chef. I am also a culinary arts teacher at a Catherine International Academy, and it's a blessing to be here and to share in this moment with each of you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Right. Should we get straight into the questions then?
Okay.
Yeah. So
bring it on.
So tonight we are looking at segment 3, and it says how social media and Black spaces affect the mind. So when we look up the etymology of the word effect, we see that it says, in part, power or capacity to produce an intent or result. So my question to Dr. Chase, if you don't mind. Yeah. What results are the creators of the various social media platforms looking to bring about from its users? What are their true intentions when they've created these platforms?
Okay, so we're looking at what is media. We're talking about social media. Now, the connotation of the word social, if you look up the etymology, you see that originally social meant to deal with the family. As time went on, social meant everything but family. So now we have, and of course, media deals with mass communication, disseminating information, whether false or real, through a large number of people. So this whole thing about mass communication and social media and its effect on the mind, that's another thing. The mind, we are not in our right minds. And that's the first thing we have to realize. We as a people are not in our right minds. You see, there are things we do that in our right minds, we'd never do. In our right minds, I will not call myself Shirlene. That's a European name. That means I'm thinking with a European mind. So when we look at social media and Black spaces and the effect on the mind, we need to understand first and foremost, we're not in our right mind. And I'll let my other sisters jump in.
Yes, of course. So same question to Sister Armanette. Would you like to come on board and, elaborate on?
Will you please repeat the question?
Yes. What results are the creators of the various social platforms looking to bring about from the users who use their media
what are their true intentions for us?
Okay. So when we speak about my sister, she just beautifully explained social and media and exactly what they mean. Now, when we're talking about what these people who are putting these platforms together, what are their true intentions? I know we just came across, I think it was from Facebook, there was a story speaking about what happened to what these social media is doing to our people. You have high rates of suicide. You have high rates of bullying happening. And because I'm also a teacher within the school system, I definitely see this ongoing firsthand. All right. So one of the things that we can see within history, these are not new people who have subjugated, infiltrated our people, like myself, like you and I, of melanin hue. One of the things that they have so strategically done is to keep us in a state of mind where, like my sister said, like we're truly not in our right mind. And when we're talking about we're truly not in our right mind, I'm always mindful that we are a traumatic people. We've been through so much trauma, and it's a perpetual trauma that is being infiltrated within the social media. You have depression, you have anxiety, you have suicide. All of these things actually keep us in a state where we're not our best selves for ourselves, neither for anyone else, including our families.
Thank you. And you can't see the other sisters. Can the other sister also answer, or should we move on to the next question? Let's see. Dr. Ford, namaste.
Okay.
Oh, we can't hear you, Dr. Ford. Is your mic muted? No, we can't hear you.
We cannot hear you, sis.
We're not hearing.
Okay.
She said she was coming, she'd be right back in. I read her lips.
Yes. Okay, Sister Leah.
All right, Sister Leah, if you can continue the conversation for us, please.
Okay, so beyond the media and how the brain functions, and you say that we're not in our right mind. So if you are looking at the brain and how it operates, according to the article, they say the brain has operated just like somebody on cocaine who is a cocaine addict. Could you explain exactly when we're scrolling and we're looking through social media, the effects on the brain, and how is it similar to somebody that is on drugs?
Okay, now part of the question the last question we just had, we were speaking about the effects of social media and the intention. And if we don't understand the system of racism, white supremacy, what it is, it's a system. A system is a collective of integrated parts. So we're looking at that system and what the intentions of the architects of social media, we're looking at what was the intention. And you're speaking about the effects on the mind, as in drugs. Yeah. Now we have the dopaminergic pathways, which is dopamine, which deals with reward system. So we see people doing some crazy things on social media because we are actually out of our minds. those pathways, as they continue to be reinforced, that satisfaction from likes, everybody's doing something for likes. And we have people doing some really ridiculous things just for likes on social media. And as it's a positive feedback mechanism, in that the more applause you get, the more it continues. So it perpetuates itself. So when you speak about it being like a drug, that is the essence of what it is. It's a dopaminergic pathway, dopamine, L-dopa, tyrosine is a precursor to this dopamine, this drug. And we have those pathways being reinforced with positive feedback mechanism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So could you say that social media could be used as something positive?
Well,
But
it's a
we say
way
we're
of,
not in our right mind.
right. We're not in our right mind, so we can use it as something positive. Now, Baba Neely Fuller, in his book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System, it's a textbook for counter-racism code. And one of the things he says is the fear, frustration, malice, and confusion caused by racism retards or prevails all constructive activity between peoples of the known universe. Now, in order to use this whole social media as a tool to positively affect change, we're going to have to get into using social media. We have, for instance, on Facebook, our international branch, they put out different things on Facebook. We, instead of the twerking and the half naked videos and bending over and see who has the and who pee hole is pink and who butthole is brown with nasty red, instead of that being perpetuated, we ought to showcase our positivity, our strength, speaking, lifting our people to power. And that's one of the ways we can use social media to compensate as a compensatory counter-racist code. Yeah. Sorry, I have a little puppy here that's trying to eat my toes.
Oh, so like you were saying, that it sort of depersonalizes you from reality, isn't it? So
yes,
everything that you see on social media is not always real. There's
no, we
filters.
actually have something called catfishing, where we have these filters, and I mean, it's a mad.
Giving a false reality.
Thank you. I mean, you can look flawless. I mean, my skin is flawless. Yeah, right.
I try.
We have these filters that does these crazy things, and I'm like, wow, no wrinkles. What's going on there?
Smooth it all out.
Yeah.
So it's like a fairy tale, isn't it? Like another fairy tale. So that's the question. Is it like a fairy tale? Social media? Is it the new fairy tale that we tell ourselves?
Well, if we're going to look at it from that perspective, yes, but we can also look at it from another perspective. As my sister alluded to some degree, it's really what you're using it for. You understand the intent behind it. So trust me, when I own a business, and for me to advertise my business, I use social media. I was not one of those persons. I'm a very old school, like to write things down. The last thing I'm going to do is go to a typewriter or go to the keyboard. I write it out first. Takes a whole lot of time. A lot of you would call me crazy, but I do that. And I find that works for me because it helps me to retain the information that I'm writing down. And then I go and type it out. It takes longer. But however, what I'm finding now is to get to the masses. If I want to promote my business, I have to put it on social media now, and I get a wider audience. You understand?
Sorry,
I didn't hear you.
Yeah, does the audience mean that you get more business, or is it just people just looking?
So you get mixed. You definitely get mixed. You will get persons who will use the number and inquire and WhatsApp and say, I would like to learn more about your business, etc. You find persons who will just scroll, yes, until they find something that may really entice them, and then they'll make the jump. Sometimes we're not the initiator, but we like to see success. So success breeds success. So
Yeah.
if the persons on social media see that, oh, my business is being successful, then you will find persons who will be more attracted to it and who will be more prone to even want to take part in that as well. So it's really a balance, but learning to differentiate who is who, but still using it with an intent of you know what you're using it for. And so that's being mindful of the intentions of why you're using certain platforms, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can we take it over to Dr. Ford?
Yes. Okay. As I was saying before, my sound wanted to act a little different. There was something that you just said, Sister Natasha, and I want to add it to when we're talking about media and you talked about fairy tales. Let's
Yeah.
be clear: every country, every culture uses the power of storytelling,
Yes.
right? And those storytellings, the way stories are told, is told through dance, it's told through language, it's told through books, it's told through song, it's told through social media, all
Yeah.
these different narratives, right?
Yes.
And those narratives have the ability to affect our identity, to determine our behavior, right? And it has an ability based off of, based on who's actually programming it, algorithms,
That's
right? Because if social media brings it up, you can see that the algorithms have a tendency to, negatively stereotypes, portray people of melanin hue. That's a fact,
Yes.
right? So I'm going to do a twofold. Yes, there are powers, principalities, the powers that be that do exist, right? Whether you call it the devil, whether you call it evil, those powers, principalities do exist. One side. The flip side of that is, well, we have a responsibility. Whether we're parents, that means teaching our children how to navigate and utilize the internet appropriately, right?
Yes.
Because Google might filter based off your searches and will tend to lead you, or all of the materials recommended to you might be right along what you were searching. So if you're into ignorance in whatever shape that is, whether it's ignorant music, ignorant food, for myself, right? Want to use myself as an example. All of a sudden, I'm seeing all of these ads saying, oh, eat this fried chicken. Oh, you like to look at this. Oh, so we're going to send you a whole bunch of this speaker, a whole bunch of this stuff. That's one. But we, us, we have a responsibility when it comes to social media to say, who's putting out this narrative?
Exactly.
Who are they talking to? And
Yes.
who does it benefit? If you look at history, when you look at Jews, there's a thing as negative stereotypes, there's a thing called propaganda.
Yes.
And when you understand history, how it works, you understand that the Germans utilized media, which has the ability to reach large amounts of people. They utilized media to negatively portray the Jews in a bad light, let alone that there were Black people in Germany that aren't even talked about. But that's another story. So when
Yes.
we're talking about social media, yes, how it is currently utilized right now for Black and brown people, it means a couple different things. One, anybody name me 3 or 4 social media companies that are actually Black owned and operated, brown owned and operated. That's a space we can go into.
Yes.
2, we have to be aware of how positive representation is very limited. And so the way it works on social media, the more raunchy, the more lewd, the more just debased and the more debauchery you display, you're going to get those numbers. Whether it's vulgarity of language, right? Whether it's through nudity or wearing things that might not be as modest. And that has an impact because now we're talking misogyny. Now we're talking about, for example, feminism. It's bypassing, it has direct access to your children if we're not supervising what they're watching. So now I can send advert games and send your children information about these foods so they can maintain an unhealthy diet. Or I can sit and I can also sit down and explain to my baby, hey, this is what Facebook is. This is what it does. This is how it is. And show how these different images, how they all connect and how we have a responsibility to use it appropriately, but also understand that there's a thing called stereotype threat. And with stereotype threats, and sometimes social media uses stereotypes. Sometimes, as a person of a group, I'm part of the melanated group. There might be people, for example, World Star, right? There's some images on there that I have to be aware of because I don't want my child looking at that and saying, oh, that's an image of a Black man. That's an image of a Black woman. That's an image of a Black child.
Yes.
Right? Okay, true. Living, they look like you, but in mentality, in their ethics, they're different. So we have to be able to address the differences. And create alternative communities and environments for us to be in where that type of behavior and those images are not conducive or even, promoted.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Over to you, Sister Deanna.
Yes.
Is your mic muted? Oh yeah, I can hear you now.
Sister Leah, your microphone is very low. May you please move closer to it and speak a little louder if possible. Thank you so much.
So we had the negative effects and we had the good effects, how it could be guided and going through social media and stuff like that. So if somebody want to make an actual change as to say, okay, what are the Black shows that I could go on social media and look? What are some examples of the Black shows that somebody who want to make that change could look, or allow the child to look at?
Okay, I'm gonna jump in. One of the shows, for example, that I know we utilize when it comes to like my godchildren and even my nieces and nephews thinking about early development, it's something like on YouTube utilizing tab time, right? It's an educational show with a melanated woman with natural hair, and she talks about healthy eating. She provides crafts. In addition to that, she talks about feelings and emotions so our children can have emotional intelligence, right?
Okay.
So that's one of the shows. Now, once again, there's a flip side. When I keep on saying there's a flip side, because we have to be aware that what we hear at the Holy Coptic Church, what we know and advocate is the way things are running. We're talking about two different societies, two different stories running parallel. Right? So I'm always going to say, but there's a flip side, right? And so we have to be aware of the flip side and utilize it and realize that means there's opportunities for us to create Black shows.
Yes, like we're doing right now.
Everybody in here has a responsibility. A responsibility, the ability to respond. So when you're talking, Sister Lee, and you're asking them questions about the Black shows, and then I sit and I turn and I'm like, okay, this is tennis. You got babies. When you putting out them Black books for your children? Aha.
Right. Making it physical, in physical form, yes?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, taking it off social media and adding it to an actual space and time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, in terms of Black shows and content that we want our children to view, we have to be mindful that not everything that says educational gives the type of education we want to instill. Many of these shows, many, and I'm going to call a name, and it's me calling the name, Disney. There's a lot of subliminal sexual content. So when my daughter was really young, I had all these movies for her, these shows that I thought were good and wholesome. But when you sit and you look at it and you see the sexual connotations, that subliminal messaging. There's an actual scene in Lion King where Simba, out of frustration, flops down at the top, and you see dust and leaves go up in the air. And when you freeze the frame, you see sex over his head. Now, what is this? What is this doing to our baby? Yeah, it's online. This is not something I'm making up. This is not new. But when we are not the ones creating that content, we have Bantu Baby, the produced the book C is for Culture. Well, how many of us have bought that for our nieces or nephews or little god babies or grandbabies? How many of us have? It's an excellent book. I mean, it brings that whole alphabet. Sister Leah, a couple of years ago, you did a whole play smack with the alphabet. I remember you did it. So yes, Sister Leah has been doing work in the background, and we worked in some games. We were making them more to our culture. So Sister Leah has been doing the work. It's just that we don't have the money to mass produce it. But don't worry, one day we're going to get one in each Kenisa and we'll have games night.
And just to add, my sisters, because I'm a mother of 5, and I do work around a lot of children here at the school. There are so many, actually, because I used to homeschool my kids at the early stages. I homeschooled them up until age 7, and then I sent them off into the school system at a Catherine, the school that we helped build, because that was very important for us as a family to ensure that those images are also reinforced and that we can actually take part in creating the curriculum that was beneficial for the reinforcement, and putting the imagery and knowledge and language in their daily lives. So a lot of you stuff that we watched was Tinga Tinga. Even though it's animal based, it was very fun, creative, because kids learn from color. Kids learn with a lot of animation. And so when we see how children are being groomed as well, like my sister said with Disney, we have to be very mindful because they already know how to manipulate the children's mind through creativity, through the colorism, etc., and through the language. As I'm sitting down watching with my children, it is very important for me and my husband to actually sit down with them. I sit down with them. So I enjoy some of the shows. I know the shows, every show that they watch, where we create a comfortable space for them to come and ask, well, what does that mean? And we get to explain them. Like Avatar, they love to watch Avatar, and we're able to explain it from an African perspective. And so we've created that space for them to ask those questions. And here at the school, we put the pledge together. We're using some of our own African principles. It's very important to find those as a parent, as a Black family. It's very important to create of your own if you are that creative type. I've created books as well. And of course, I always think about my children taking it over in the long term. That's my thinking process. I'm only here to begin it and facilitate it, and now I'm teaching you how to take the baton, and so it's to the next level. Exactly.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes. Sister Leah, do you still want to ask any more questions on social media?
We have Sister Teresa.
Oh, Sister Teresa.
Hi, Namaste.
So Namaste, sister. We were just talking about, how do we create these sacred places and sacred spaces where we can take the negative effects of social media on the mind, to a positive place for us as Black people, and if you would like to.
Yeah, like everybody was saying, we have to create, which they have been creating new stuff for our kids and grandkids to watch. Because a lot of the stuff that's on TV is not suitable for our Black kids, and especially Disney. Disney is the worst.
Dizziness.
Disney is the worst, and that's one of the reasons that they're fighting down there in Florida about Disney, because of what Disney is putting out. The princess, just like in our book, fairy tales. That's that whole Disney scene is that book, and we need something totally different for them. That's one of the things I miss about my grandkids, being with my grandkids. Is to read them different stories, and not the Disney stories, but I'm not there with them, so I can't read it to them like that, because that's what they see on TV and that's what they're drawn into. My granddaughter, she is a little princess. She's prissy and she loves the princess thing.
And like you were saying, we don't always have the time, and sometimes we sit our children in front, these platforms. So while we rush around cooking dinner, I might have come home from work tired, and you just doesn't have that energy to do these things with them. But we do need to go back to doing this, because it would help them to have that immunity against these things that are portrayed that is not of their culture,
Right, because they just set them in front of the TV and that's their entertainment for the night, or whatever the parents are doing, that's what they let them do, to sit in front of the TV, and that's what's teaching them.
Okay.
Can I add something, if I may, please? Just because I'm at the school, and we had to step back at the school because we are a the bring your own device school, and we were one of the first here on the island, Nassau, the Bahamas, and one of the things that was so challenging for us, even as teachers, what we begin to see as even though we found it easy to give them the education and to expand them or expand their thinking in terms of widening the scope of their search and tying in with other schools in the US or all across the world. What we found happening was that it became so addictive that even though they were learning, you still found them, they still going on another tab and they're playing these games, etc. And it became so addictive. And then when you ask them to put the device down and write a short story, it was challenging for them to even sit still without having to look at their device and seeing what else is going on or what they're missing on the device versus just paying attention to write a story. So we had to step back a little bit and actually we had to bring balance once again, even though we find that in this new age, we call it the information age or the AI age, these things are being exposed to our children from birth.
Right.
Yes, birth. I remember my son scrolling. He knew how to scroll.
And can I just add on to exactly what she was saying, because we have to remember, whether it's television, these things are utilized, they're tools, right? But you can, just like we binge watch on shows, people binge watch a lot of time. People easily spend anywhere from 11 to 12 hours just consuming media. Right? All this media, and we're because we're moving away from print. And a lot of times when we do that, once again, going back to this creates anxiety, depression, stress. Why? Cognitive dissonance, right? So we're talking about the hypothalamus, we're talking about the pituitary gland, and we're talking about that increase in cortisol, that increase in adrenaline, right? Because cognitive dissonance is basically like a disconnect where how you feel and what you're seeing is a conflict. I'm participating in something, but I don't really feel that way. So it forces me to either have to give up part of myself or act like I don't know part of myself. Example, how many people here had a perm before?
Had what?
Yeah.
A perm.
A
Oh,
perm,
yeah.
yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Cognitive dissonance, welcome. Right? Because we were actually participating, not 100% ignorantly, right? We knew that it had lye in it, but we never looked at what are these ingredients doing to me, right?
Yeah.
How is it affecting, my physical health? Because my skin is still an organ, right?
Yes.
It's
Right.
pores.
It's the
Never
biggest
thought
organ
about
in the
it,
body.
right? Didn't have a lot of pictures of a lot of, melanated women with hairstyles because the standard of beauty in various countries around the world were white. So a lot of times we would go to the beauty salon and we would get a white hairstyle.
Press and curve.
Whether it's feathered or don't. So when we sit and we're talking about this cognitive dissonance, understanding that it's not just working on our children, but it's working on our adults, it's working on seniors, it is working on our community. And we have to be very aware of that. Means that when it comes to social media is going to not just affect how you feel about yourself, but also how you look. Because I don't know, a lot of people here, I can remember being young and feeling ugly. Just ugly. Right?
Why?
Not thinking I was pretty.
Why did you feel ugly, Dr. Bode?
There was no, my environment. Right? Because once again, racism, white supremacy. My parents were stressed out young Black people. Right? You have a young Black man and a young Black woman / late teens who decide to become parents with no skill set, limited resources. That's stress. Add children to the mix. That's stress. Yes?
Yes.
We've all have either had family members or people who have experienced this. So now you add that, there isn't an organization that says, hey, you need discipline. Hey, you need self-control. Hey, you need guidance. Most of us as adults, our definition of adult is I get to do what I want to do. And that's not an adult.
No.
Being an adult is responsible.
And you still don't get to do what you want to do.
Right.
Nope.
So with that, I'm gonna get off my soapbox because I know Sister Leah dying. She ready. She ready
Yes,
to give us because she gonna be speaking tomorrow, so she ready. She about to bring it. I'm listening to Sister Leah.
Yes, let's go.
So on social media, we get exposed to a lot of things on social media. Most of the things we learn actually on social media. So for women, in terms of the hair, the natural hair, do you think Black women take care of their natural hair? Most of the times they come to that it's either to take or I can't handle it or it don't have the products for it. Isn't that we don't know how to take care of our natural hair, or is it that they don't have products to take care of our natural hair? Or is it a combination of the both?
Okay, I'll jump right in. Like I said earlier, we're not in our right minds. We need to take it from that perspective. When you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing is, my name is ABC, and I'm
Say
alcoholic.
Dr. Chase, you can say it.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I've been saved. Not anymore. Not anymore.
No, we've changed, ladies.
Ladies. Becoming.
We're becoming. Yes.
I had my days of alcohol. I used to be able to drink many a good man under the table. This is not legal. But anyhow,
I can relate to you, Dr. Chase.
I tell you.
We all
If I
sidebar.
smell it, I'll
Alcohol. This is the bar time. You can tell
Evidence.
this the people. We was at the clubs.
Oh
This is
yeah.
the whole. This is how we ended this outside of Sister Louis.
Ex-military,
Probably
we
we was at
partied
the
all
club.
night.
You were required to be able to party all night and then go on the feed the next day. That was a requirement. The first thing we learned in medical school actually was how to drink. But anyway, let's get back to the conversation. No, numbing the pain. No, not how much pain. Yeah, yeah. The liver is evil and must be punished. Leah, what's the question again, please?
Okay.
What's the question again? Just repeat it quickly.
Nisha
Right.
forgot the question.
Is the alcohol killing the brain cells? Natural.
That's our favorite subject.
Yeah, neuroscience is one of my strong points.
Okay, do you think that Black women know how to take care of their
Right. So I was getting back to that where I was supposed to be. We're not in our right minds, because in our right minds, this was not a badge of shame. It was not something that I don't know how to handle my hair. You see, our beauty standards, our ideals, it wasn't back in the time when I was at secondary school, the ideal was being able to slick that hair back in one. Come on, ladies. Pull it right back in one at the base of your head. Not a hair. Grease, water, gel. I mean, that was the ideal. But we're not thinking in our right minds. So we have people who have degrees in chemistry. We have people who doing agriculture who can raise the crops, Sister Leah. Yeah. And we're not doing the work necessary. You see, like Dr. Ford was speaking about before, that cognitive dissonance, that the reality and what's in your head kind of doesn't match up. So you're going to school, you're going to the universities, you're getting the education, but you don't put it back to use. So this thing about not enough products for our hair, we have a brother in Trinidad, Brother Quincy, who makes hair care products and creams and soaps. But do we encourage those businesses? Sister Amunet has a thing with her sea moss and all of that. And Basash was explaining a time back about ladies grew your hair. We have some of us who grew accustomed just to cutting off our hair. And that's part of the self-hate. Because every so often, I used to cut my hair down in a low fro because wet, shake my head and go out the door. But that's part of the hate. And you had to learn, hey, no, that's not all I can do with my hair. There's so many styles online. So Basash was telling us about it's CMOS and something with the hair up. And then Sister Mukunda, they have stuff in the store. Sister Angel, Tree of Eternal Life. Yeah, I'm shamelessly selling all the stores. And
yes, Tree of Eternal Life. You can get your products there.
That's right. Sister Simone.
We have Sister Simone who does her
Thank you.
natural hair products.
Nefarious beard oils. We have all of come on. Let's really learn to embrace this and love ourselves and stop seeing God, my hair is so kinky. I have what they call 4C or 5C, must be 7C. Hair. My hair is really kinky, curly, coily.
Yeah, I can relate, Dr. Matthews.
And growing up, you were in Trinidad. I don't know if they have the term anywhere else, but Sister Leah will know this term. Late for school children. Oh, yeah, there's the nefarious oils. Late for school children. That's because your hair couldn't slick back into one ponytail easily. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have melanated people who have wavy to curly hair, but understand our whole thing with colorism, that gradations of dark to light, who had the lighter eyes, who had the darker eyes, who had the wavy hair. We need to come to terms and embrace ourselves and love ourselves. So the whole thing about the hair and not having enough products, first of all, we need to get back, like I keep saying, I keep going back to it, in our right minds. How do we go back to our right minds?
Hey, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
And I'll be quick. One, just for those people who are watching, even though we talk about you know, the world right now, everything is perverted and upside down. And so when we talk about collective, one of the ways we could say not being in our right mind, we're talking about getting back into control of our narrative and doing the works necessary, right? Through studying and learning, through applying the information and knowledge that you learn. That could be via cookbook, right? That could be something on learning how to sew. Whatever you intake, make sure that that education, that true education that Dr. Treese was talking about, that's going to have a cultural component, going back to hair. And part of our cultural component of learning how to take care of our hair, we lost that, right? Via slavery, colonialism, because part of our identity was our hair. A lot of African tribes have very distinguished hairstyles that they would have. But as soon as, quote unquote, slavery, right? Sometimes migration, sometimes we lose things along the way, right? But that doesn't mean we have to stay lost. Nowadays, my mother, she wasn't the best in cornrows, but now through the information age, I can learn how to cornrow. I can learn how to French braid. I can learn how to twist. One, two, Black women, we spend too much money on products.
That was our next question.
Not our hair or real hair, right? When I looked up in my cabinet and you know, my peoples, they know, I have a lot of products. And I didn't even really realize how much products that I was purchasing.
So you just accumulate.
Right. Because I was like, okay, I need this for my curly hair, and I need this if I want to have my twist, and I need this if I want to go ahead and want to have a flat twist. And so you end up wasting or spending a lot of money because I didn't know unconsciously I bought into the illusion that my hair was difficult to manage.
When really it's beautiful afro that picks up, you know.
So with that, now I have to be more mindful and understand it's not the products that's going to take care of my hair. I still got to learn how to braid.
Come on. Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So that is very important. And that I'm hearing alarm clocks, which means I'm going to wrap it up and let somebody else talk about it. Sister
No, I'm sorry, Sid. That was mine.
So I wanted to... I wanted to add in with Dr. Ford was talking about, because when we see ourselves spending like 3 to 4 times more than cosmetics or beauty products, more than white people or European or Asian people, something like Sister Dr. Chase is saying, something isn't right. And if we can trace back, because I've heard it, I've had my issues when I was growing up. I've heard, oh, go comb your picky hair. Oh, you peasy hair. You know, after you perm the hair, none of us wanted to go in the water or the rain because it will curl right back up, because we don't want to see the peas come in the back. Come on. We all been there. You understand? All the nappy hair. We heard those terms, those negative stigma that continuously still plays in our psyche. Even if we're conscious or not about it, because that's why we are getting some of the curl products. Yes, some of us don't even know about 4C, that our hair is 4C or 3C. We said, oh, there's a new product out there that's going to cause my hair to be curly and crinky.
And nobody even who defined 4C? Just help me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't even know.
That's the nappiest hair it is. That's the nappiest hair it is. Hard to comb. I remember when I was younger, when I go get my hair combed, I mean, they was like, you be crying. Shut up. Keep combing. You just started crying. When you get through, you have four little plaits, one on each side. But you be bawling and it hurt.
Yes, and that created the self-hate, right?
Yes.
Because the pain.
The pain.
Right? The
That's
burn
why you
marks.
get the perm. That's why they went to the perm.
Right?
Yes.
And I just want Sister Teresa to talk, if possible, a little bit about it, because she went through the era. She saw how we went from perm to natural hair, back to perm, back to natural hair. She saw skin bleaching. You know, she saw these things, and we have to understand. Sister Teresa, can you please educate the people?
Because like I said, back when I was younger and get my hair done, that's what, you know, you went through, the pain. And so when you got older, up where you in age in high school, that's when you can start getting your hair perm. Because that's when I started getting mine perm, because my mom didn't perm it. So when I started going to the beauty shop, and getting it perm, and I didn't really like perm because perms take your hair out too if you don't take care of it. If you just let it go, it's gonna break your hair off. So as I got older, I tried to get away from the perm. And when I went into the military, I stopped perming my hair and went back to the natural. And that was kind of hard too, because you having to comb your hair and you can't comb it, and you have to be somewhere. You just, then had to go back to the perm. So when I went back to Germany, there was no place in Germany that we can get our hair done as African American soldiers. We either had to do it ourselves, and that's where I had to learn how to perm my own hair. So I got the straightening comb, burnt half of it out half the time, but I did it. I learned how to do it. So when I came back to the States, I went back to perm, and then I just got away from it altogether. And then try to find a good beautician where I can go get my hair done. And every 2 weeks I was getting press and curl, because that's what Black people did, press and curl. And then I did that for a long period of time. And it worked for me up until a press and curl. You can sweat a press and curl out if you have 5C hair in a day. In a day, I was paying money to get my hair pressed and curl and go out and play in softball, and it's gone. That's all okay. What am I gonna do? So I just kept going, paying the money, getting the press and curl every 2 weeks, religiously, every 2 weeks, and that adds up. So then when I got into started getting conscious, I started wearing the wigs because it kept me from paying for the press and curl, and I could still look decent going to work and playing softball or whatever, But now I just wrap it. I just braid it up, go to work, wrap it, because I was paying $60 every 2 weeks to sweat it out. So we paying all this money for nothing, really, really nothing. So I just go back to the natural hair until I'm still.
So somebody is making money off of us, right?
Right, they're making big time money off of us.
7.5 billion per year.
Yes.
We can have 24 million.
So we need to take that back and put it into our community for something that needs it, rather than hair that doesn't really need it, because we got beautiful hair anyway, right?
Sister Natasha, I know it's late where you're at.
It is really late.
So we're going to be going to wrap up, because I think it's like 2 o'clock in the morning where she's at.
It is, yes. It's 1 in the morning.
Natasha, you still look beautiful at 2 a.m.
Let's claim Ladyhood, everybody. Let's go ahead and do this year. Let's go ahead and focus on that. Let's bring in Dr. AJ Balmer as we close. Get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you, ladies, so very much. Thank you, ladies, so very much. So very much. This has been the Ladies of Purpose, Reclaiming Ladyhood, the Christ Consciousness Conference, Day 1, 2024. Tomorrow, you'll be seeing 4 sessions beginning at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. GMT. Don't miss it. Segment 1, Why Do Women Compete with Each Other? Can women truly work together? Segment 2, We Are Not Your Lyrics. Is it still there? Know your nature. Segment 3, Find Successful Melanated Men. What does it mean to be a helpmeet or helpmate? And segment 4, Religion, Dedication, Adherence, and Purpose. And the final segment, segment 5, Etiquette of Ladyhood. Revolutionary Ladyhood, Powerful versus Prissy, the mother-daughter talk. Oh, this is going to be a great day. Spread the word. Tell your grandmothers and grandfathers, uncles and aunts and nieces and nephews, sons and daughters, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, to join us tomorrow. Look for the link. It'll be out on all of your different platforms. This has been a great day. Stay tuned for a simple message coming now.
This has been day 1 of the Ladies of Purpose Christ Consciousness Conference, Reclaiming Ladyhood, Rise of the Divine Feminine. We want to thank the Holy Coptic Church of the Black Messiah International and no one other than the greats, our Coptic Pope of today, Reverend Dr. A.J. Varma, also known as Basesh Haruhotep Tar, for making this all possible. We look forward to seeing you for day 2. Invite your family and friends to day 2 tomorrow of the Christ Consciousness Ladies of Purpose Conference. Don't miss it. We'll see you there, and thank you for joining us.